Hello, this is Lisa, CEO of Site for Wight and Wight Sense, welcoming you to this week's Talking News on Friday the 16th of May 2025. Delighted to say the newsletter's gone out this week. We're going to have a slightly different format from the next issue onwards, where the first page will be a content page so that people can flick to articles they need to straight away. In line with this, we're also going to put a contents page on the YouTube version, which we've done this time, which is out on Facebook and YouTube. Also, in the covering letter, we're going to ensure that new activities and save the dates are covered so that they're more obvious for people to read about. Talking of saving the date, we have our open day here at Millbrook House on the 30th of July. Timings are yet to be confirmed because we're waiting for the entertainment to confirm, but it will be for a couple of hours around lunchtime, and we of course hope that the weather will be beautiful. However, we have been lucky enough to have been donated a couple of marquees, so if the weather doesn't hold, then we are able to cover the outside patio area. This weekend, we're at the Cowes Masonic Lodge with the Open Studios providing refreshments, and again next weekend we'll be at the Open Studio in Cowes. And then Monday the 26th, we'll be at Bembridge Street Fair, so do pop along and see us at any of these events. Your support is always so welcome. Thank you, Lisa, CEO, Site for Wight and Wight Sense.
Here is this week's charity news, week commencing 16th of May 2025. Swimming at Medina is on Monday between 1:15 p.m. and 2 p.m. We have the whole pool, so whether you wish to swim lanes or just have gentle exercise in the pool, you'll be made very welcome. The cost is £6 and transport is available, although limited. All members are very welcome to join.
Yoga is on Tuesday at Millbrook House between 1:45 p.m. and 2:45 p.m. This group is now full, but if you wish to put your name down on the waiting list, please call the office.
Coffee and Chat is on Wednesday, starting at 10 a.m. until 11:30 a.m. The cost is £2 to include drinks and cake. Staff are on hand to help with any queries and to demonstrate equipment.
On Wednesday, we will be having a second-hand equipment sale here at Millbrook House between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. We have a wide variety of equipment for sale, so please feel free to pop along and view the items.
Now the warmer and hopefully sunnier weather is coming, our tandem bikes are now out and about. If you would like a tester session, please call the office and a slot can be booked with the pilots.
Our fundraising team have a busy couple of weeks coming up with the Open Studios at Cowes and Gurnard, plus the Bembridge Street Fair on Monday Bank Holiday the 26th. If you're visiting Bembridge, please pop by and say hello. Our CEO will be there for the day, selling tombola tickets, etc.
If you sometimes wish you had a friend to talk to and feel isolated from the outside world, our telephone befrienders are on hand to call you for a friendly chat. The calls can be weekly, fortnightly or monthly and can be tailored around your needs. If you would like to receive a telephone call, please call the office and we will match you with a befriender. Information about the 5-kilometre Wight Cane Walk. This walk takes place on the 8th of June 2025 to raise awareness and funds to promote research into inherited sight loss conditions. Everyone will meet at the Green on Ryde Seafront at 2:30 p.m. to set off at 3 p.m. and walk to Seaview. Participants will grab a section of the bespoke long white cane. This is part of the 50th celebration for Retina UK. To join in, please register with retinauk.org.uk and click on events, or call the helpline on 03001 114 That's 03001 114 Entry is £10 and you will receive a cap and t-shirt. Please join in and make this a day to remember.
Thank you to everyone who came along to our VE party last week. We all had a wonderful time, and it was lovely to see everyone so happy and singing along to Morris. Thanks must go to all our wonderful volunteers who helped to make the day more special. Without them, these activities and events would not be possible.
Our monthly 100 Club has spare balls available. If anyone would like to buy a ball, it is £2 per month or £24 for the full year. The more balls in draw, the higher the prize money each month. If you would like to take part in our monthly draw, please call the office. This is part of our fundraising activities.
This is Brian reading an article from the Island Echo. Lionheart School officially opens in Newport after major transformation. There were celebrations last week as the newly renamed Lionheart School officially opened, making a fresh start for the former Island Learning Centre. The school, based in Albury Road, Newport, has undergone a full refurbishment and rebranding, transforming both its look and its mission. Now known as Lionheart, the school is set to offer a wider range of services aimed at supporting secondary schools and young people across the island. Staff, students, and local supporters gathered to mark the occasion, with many praising the school's renewed focus on inclusion, well-being, and opportunity. Head teacher Andrew Hatherley has said, "This is more than just a new name. It's a new beginning, one that reflects our commitment to helping every young person thrive. Our approach to education is based on empathy and understanding, ensuring students can learn at their own pace in a safe environment. We focus not only on academic achievement, but also on the emotional well-being of each student, because we know that true learning happens when children feel safe, supported and valued." Lionheart School works with students aged 11 to 16 who require additional help with their social, emotional or mental health needs. It provides support for children who, for various reasons, are unable to attend mainstream school, aiming to ensure that pupils return and reintegrate into school as soon as possible. Additionally, they assist pupils with medical conditions that prevent school attendance for extended periods but do not hinder their learning. As a trauma-informed school, Lionheart understands that many students have faced difficult and sometimes overwhelming experiences. Naomi Carter, Service Director, Education, Inclusion and Access at the Isle of Wight Council said, "Lionheart School is a beacon of hope for our community. It offers a supportive and understanding environment that is essential for the growth and development of our young people. I'm excited to see the positive impact it will have on their lives." Councillor Claire Critchison, Cabinet Member for Children's Services, added, "The reopening of Lionheart School marks a powerful milestone in our mission to ensure every child on the Isle of Wight has access to the support they need to succeed. This newly transformed space is more than just a school. It's a sanctuary of opportunity, compassion and growth. I'm proud to see such a dedicated team creating a nurturing environment where our most vulnerable young people can rebuild confidence, rediscover their potential and thrive."
This is Chris reading an article from the Island Echo. Islanders urged to join the fight against invasive species during National Awareness Week. Residents across the Isle of Wight are being called on to help protect the area's unique ecosystems, as Invasive Species Week is now underway until the 18th of May. with special efforts being made locally to tackle the growing threat of non-native species. Natural Enterprise, a local environmental organisation, is leading the charge with hands-on conservation effort focused on removing Himalayan balsam from the island's riverbanks. Seb Taylor, Rivers and Invasive Species Officer, is calling for volunteers to take part in summer work parties aimed at defending the Isle of Wight's natural beauty. He said, "We're incredibly lucky on the Isle of Wight to have rich biodiversity, and we want to keep it that way. By joining in, you'll be helping to protect rivers, wildlife, and the places we all love to walk, explore, and enjoy." This summer's volunteer sessions offer a chance to get involved in environmental conservation while enjoying some of the lesser-known landscapes of the Isle of Wight. Individuals, groups, and businesses are all encouraged to take part, with previous corporate teams praised for their efforts in past years. While the Isle of Wight remains free of invasive American mink and has seen limited presence of giant hogweed, other problematic species continue to threaten the local environment. Japanese knotweed, rhododendron, and bamboo are among the known challenges, along with Himalayan balsam, which has spread along watercourses. There is also growing concern about the Asian hornet, first seen in the UK in 2016, which poses a serious risk to honeybee populations. The Isle of Wight beekeepers remain on high alert, but residents are encouraged to report sightings to help prevent further spread. Invasive species cost the UK an estimated £1.7 billion each year in damage to the ecosystems and infrastructure. Invasive Species Week aims to raise awareness and encourage action at a community level. Those wishing to take part or learn more can contact Seb Taylor by ringing 01983 296244.
Article from the Island Echo, read by Howard, is concerned with the Round the Island race. One of sailing's most iconic races is just a month away, and there's still time to be part of it. Over 600 boats have already signed up for this year's Round the Island race, which takes place on Saturday, 7th of June. The 50 nautical mile race circumnavigates the Isle of Wight, involving competitors from all over the globe. Entries are open until Wednesday, 4th of June, with cheaper standard entry fees available until 24th of May. Dave Atkinson, race director, said, "As always, we're very excited about the race and really looking forward to welcoming everybody," he said. "It's a very special day to be part of, so whether you've taken part before or are thinking about it for the first time, we'd love you to be there with us." Setting off from the famous Royal Yacht Squadron line, this year from 0730, the event is known for bringing together world-renowned sailors with families and first-time racers. The course record for a monohull boat, set by Mike Slade on ICP Leopard in 2013, is 3 hours 43 minutes 50 seconds, while Ned Collier Wakefield set the multi-hull record of 2 hours 22 minutes 23 seconds in 2017 on Concise 10. Island Sailing Club Commodore Tim Devlin, who's raced nearly every year since 2010, said, "The race itself is different each year, but regardless of the conditions, we all enjoy a good day's sailing. In addition to the race, entertainment will be on offer in the race village on Cowes Parade throughout the weekend, and a special 2025 race collection from Helly Hansen is also available to buy alongside other round the island merchandise.
This is Brian reading an item from Isle of Wight Radio. Cowes Classic Day is set to bring free fun on and off the water. Cowes Classic Day will return to the Isle of Wight on Sunday, June the 1st. The free event takes place at the parade in Cowes and is organised by the Royal London Yacht Club to celebrate classic car and boat design. Historic and iconic motor vessels and yachts will be moored at the Trinity Landing. Lillian is a gentleman's motor yacht designed by C.G. Pettersson and built in Stockholm in 1916. The original owner, Emil Gluckstadt, was a Copenhagen banker. Steam Pinnace number 199 from the National Museum of the Royal Navy will be giving demonstrations on Saturday and Sunday. Classic yacht or motorboat owners have offered free berthing to join in the fun and display their treasured vessels. Contact sailing@rlyc.org.uk with details of your vessels for booking arrangements. Isle of Wight residents and visitors will enjoy a display of 60-plus vintage cars packed onto the parade. Daimlers, Aston Martins, Rolls-Royces, Jaguars, Bentleys, Morris Minors, Triumphs will have their proud owners nearby to talk about their treasured motors. Once again, the colourful working replica Chitty Chitty Bang Bang will join the fleet. Car lovers are encouraged to take part in the People's Choice Award to vote on their favourite car. Winners will be announced at 3 p.m. Visitors will enjoy the Boogie Woogie Bluebirds 1940s trio at 12 p.m. and a Spitfire display at 1:30 p.m. with refreshments from The Garden, Plaza Ice Cream and Honey's Donuts. This special day is organised by the Royal London Yacht Club, supported by Cowes Town Council. Travel partners Red Funnel Ferries offering a Sail and Save Cowes Classic Day return from Southampton on both the Red Jet and Vehicle Ferry. About Cowes Classics Regatta and the Royal London Yacht Club. Cowes Classics Regatta is now in its 19th year and is arguably the world's greatest classics regatta. Traditional yacht racing takes place over a variety of Solent courses. The event attracts a variety of classic yachts, relishing fierce competition on the water and delightful social events ashore. The Royal London Yacht Club originated in 1838 and moved to Cowes in 1882. It has been instrumental in the development of yacht racing rules and measurements.
This is Chris reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. New Wight Link measures to support passengers with additional needs. People travelling to and from the Isle of Wight with Wight Link who would like some more support can now use extra facilities on board one of the larger ferries on the Portsmouth-Fishbourne route. A calm room has been installed in a quiet area of St. Clair for the use of neurodivergent or overwhelmed customers who may find a busy ferry a little stressful and need a safe space. Wight Link was advised by AIM, Autism Inclusion Matters, on the Isle of Wight on the best way to design the room on deck 4. It has been decorated in neutral colours with blinds to reduce the glare of the sun, and there are sensory fidget boards on the walls. AIM Service Manager Claire Collins saw the final result when she crossed the Solent on St. Clair. We are pleased that Wight Link took our recommendations on board and made these changes. The room has comfortable sofas and will be a welcoming place for autistic people to relax, ease anxiety and enjoy the crossing. We think the fidget boards will be very popular, she said. Part of Deck 5 on St Clair has also been remodelled as a quiet lounge for customers who would like to avoid the bright lights, the noise and crowds while crossing the Solent. Signs at the entrance explain the purpose of the area. There is also a dedicated quiet area at Wight Link's Portsmouth Vehicle Port at Gun Wharf Road, and a member of the port staff can unlock the room if it's needed. Head of Customer Experience Sarah Howden says, by making the journey easier for even a small group of customers, whether through improved navigation at our ports, more accessible equipment, or exceptional service from our staff, we enhance the experience for everyone. These satisfied travellers are not only more likely to return, but also to share their positive experiences with others, encouraging more people to cross the Solent with Wight Link. In addition, Wight Link has signed up to the Isle of Wight breastfeeding scheme to support mothers who would like to nurse their child during their journey to and from the island. Colleagues at ports and on board ships are being given advice and training on the best ways to offer to help nursing mothers. If they would like privacy, they could use the quiet areas on the St Clair and at the Gun Wharf terminal.
Article from the Isle of Wight Radio, read by Howard, is concerned with a new fire station in an island coastal town. East Cowes could get an essential new fire station, replacing the previously demolished one. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Fire and Rescue Service, that's HIWFRS, submitted a planning application to County Hall for a replacement building. Their plans include a station with a response unit and fleet maintenance facility, car parking provision and landscaping. A design and access statement prepared by Boyle and Summers on behalf of HIWFRS said, maintaining an operational fire station in East Cowes is essential as it provides critical fire coverage to the northeast of the Isle of Wight, an area with significant marine, industrial and heritage risks. The nearest alternative stations, Newport, Ryde and Cowes, are over 15 minutes away, exceeding HIWFRS's target response time of 8 minutes. The previous fire station was structurally unsafe, beyond economic repair, and contained asbestos, necessitating complete demolition in September 2024. Likewise, the existing Fleet Maintenance Centre, that's the FMC, at Newport Fire Station has reached the end of its economic life and requires significant investment for building fabric repairs. Therefore, the vacant site in East Cowes provides an opportunity to combine both facilities. The East Cowes site is ready for redevelopment. The proposed fire station has a relatively traditional form, with rectangular layout. The council's consultation on application ends on June 16th, and a decision is due on July 9th.
Good morning, I'm John.
And I'm Ursula.
Here are the week's news items. Council insists cycling priority by Zach Saunders. The Isle of Wight Council has responded to criticism that a dispute with Island Roads has caused significant delays to cyclist infrastructure projects, stating it is open to meeting the advocacy group to discuss their concerns. Cycle Wight raised alarm over delays to projects allegedly caused by a dispute between the local authority and the island's highways service over the PFI contract. A council spokesperson said, "We take the concerns raised by Cycle Wight seriously and would be happy to meet with them to discuss these in more detail." The council addressed some of Cycle Wight's specific points. Mirstone to Horringford. This busy stretch is described by the group as in desperate need of resurfacing due to a potholed and deteriorating surface. The council said a long-term surface improvement plan is under review to ensure durability rather than short-term fixes. Barrier removal. A list of barriers deemed obstructive to cyclists was submitted to the council in July 2023. The council says it is assessing which existing barriers may be removed in line with updated safety and accessibility guidance. Think Bike signage. The initiative was meant to promote driver awareness and cyclist safety. Although supported by the council, the group says its rollout has stalled. The council says an initial rollout has been completed, with more locations under review. Drainage improvements on the Shanklin to Wroxall cycle path. While no ditches currently exist at the location raised, according to the council, new solutions are being explored, subject to funding and landowner agreements. The spokesperson added, improving the island's cycle network is a key priority for the council. All projects are carefully considered and delivered within the constraints of available funding and resources. Cycle Wight had criticised what it described as a contradiction between the council's promotion of the island as a cycling destination and the current state of the infrastructure. The council said completed works include a 1.2 kilometre shared route between Riverside Centre and Mews Lane in Newport, the Ride Interchange project, and flood mitigation improvements between Blackwater Hollow and Birchmoor Lane. Looking ahead, the council highlighted the Island Green Link as a major initiative supported by Levelling Up funding. A key feature is the West Wight Greenway, a proposed 13-mile route from Freshwater to Newport for cyclists and walkers.
Man jailed for stalking police chief. A self-declared exaholic has been jailed after stalking a police chief constable, claiming his online harassment was driven by the rush of trying to get likes on social media. Internet-obsessed Jason Nichols of East Cowes bombarded Sussex Police's Joe Gina, with hundreds of abusive social media posts over 2 years. On Twitter, now X, Nichols shared hundreds of posts, memes, mock-up images and satirical videos criticising the chief constable's work. The 55-year-old started a Twitter soap called Shiner Street, which detailed the ups and downs of her force, and also created a wanted poster with her face on for crimes against policing. Admitting his stalking, Nichols said his social media addiction has dominated his life for over a decade as he tried to chase the instant dopamine rush which came with posting online. Nichols was jailed for 15 weeks and handed a restraining order against CC Shiner. The order bans Nichols from contacting CC Shiner, tagging her in posts online, and also bans him from contacting Sussex Police unless there is a genuine emergency or to report a crime. While he was waiting sentence at Portsmouth Magistrates Court, Nichols breached his bail conditions by sending emails to police. At sentencing, magistrates told Nichols he showed a flagrant disregard for CC Shiner and that a significant degree of planning went into his mock-up images. Nichols stalked CC Shiner from October 22 to August 24. He sent the constable a great deal of online communications to her personal X account and email address, among others. Prosecutors said there was a large number of posts which were distressing to C.C. Shiner, and she was professionally embarrassed. He admitted 1 count of stalking without fear and distress and 2 counts of breaching bail conditions. Nichols took the unusual step of producing a statement about his so-called social media addiction. It said, "I'm an ex-aholic, blind to risk or consequence. I have lost control of my online life, impulsively chasing the instant dopamine rush of likes, shares, and replies through an overwhelming flood of posts, memes, and satirical videos. For me, who has ADHD, which makes me especially susceptible to addictive behavior, Elon Musk's free speech platform X became like a high street fixed odds gambling machine, offering a quick, seductive, and psychologically numbing high."
Carer drained vulnerable pensioner's bank account by court reporter. A callous carer who drained a vulnerable pensioner's bank account of £2,800 has avoided going behind bars. Michelle Cole from Hillway Road, Bembridge, initially denied fraud by using the elderly woman's bank card and PIN. However, she changed her plea on February 10th when facing a judge. She appeared for sentencing at the Isle of Wight Crown Court on Monday, May the 12th. The court heard how the 35-year-old abused her position as a carer between May the 2nd and June the 13th, 2023, to steal from a vulnerable woman aged in her 70s. The victim was said to desperately need the money to cover her care costs. Tim Devlin, prosecuting, read extracts from the victim's impact statement. He said the incident had gone unseen for some time. It came to light when she realised she was left with a fraction of the savings she thought she had to cover her care costs. The pensioner said it was disheartening to realise those she trusted would act that way. She described offering Cole treats for her child and said she felt like a fool knowing I'd been taken advantage of. She labelled Cole's actions as an invasion of privacy. Judge Richard Parks halted proceedings, asking for further investigation by the CPS, after learning about £7,370 allegedly disappearing from another of the woman's bank accounts. However, further proceedings against Cole were not launched, as she was one of several people to have had access to it, Mr. Devlin said. Mr. Devlin stressed the offence was a breach of trust, which significantly impacted the victim, who suffers some kind of disability to require the services of a carer. The company Cole worked for at the time of the fraud, My Care Crew, has since been dissolved. For Cole, Tom Evans said his client was unable to mitigate on the facts, but her actions were out of character and was assessed by probation as being at a low risk of reoffending. Cole was handed a 13-month imprisonment, suspended for 18 months. She must do 100 hours of unpaid work, rehabilitation sessions, and repay the victim £100 per month for the next 28 months.
Public split down the middle on Isle of Wight hospital services by Rufus Pickles. Further issues with car park ticket machines at St Mary's Hospital, concerns about the loss of funding for Isle of Wight autism charity AIM, and long queues for pharmacy services are key health and social care issues facing islanders. In a turnaround from Healthwatch, Isle of Wight's February 13th to March the 12th report, the watchdog's latest findings show an increase in overall positive feedback to 48%, 210, compared to 45%, which is negative, which were 196, and 7% recorded a mixed or neutral, 31 people. Healthwatch received over 30 negative responding relating to car parking at St Mary's and local pharmacy services. One resident told the watchdog they had queued for an hour to collect medication, describing an absolute nightmare. Another said, "Please could it be noted that my relative and I have both been experiencing issues, accessing prescribed regular drugs with only partial prescriptions being issued and then significant delays to complete the prescription. Or it's taken several days for a prescription to be prepared when the medication is needed more urgently." Islanders gave the most positive feedback to optometry, ophthalmology, autism and dentistry services. Commenting on Island charity AIM, Autism Inclusion Matters, one resident said, "AIM is irreplaceable, a lifeline for families like ours. My son, like many others, remains forgotten by the system. But AIM has not forgotten him. AIM provides a safe space where he can engage with peers without judgment. It gives him hope, joy, and a vital connection to the world around him." The report's two most common feedback topics were once again GP and dentistry services. GP services were mostly given negative feedback, while responses relating to dentistry were mainly positive. An NHS Hampshire and Isle of Wight spokesperson said, "We would like to thank Healthwatch Isle of Wight for all they're doing to give local people on the island a voice in these very important healthcare issues. They said March is one of the busiest months in the NHS. They said NHS dental access had improved in the last 2 years and GP appointments had risen."
Feud over bomb site beauty spot is settled by Oliver Dyer. An iconic beauty spot turned bomb site could be set for a new lease of life after a 10-year legal feud came to an end. A dispute between the Isle of Wight Council and Dover Enterprises, which leases land at the Dover St Helens, has now been settled, the county press can reveal. Both parties have confirmed a new lease has been drawn up, with hopes that work can finally get underway to tidy up the mess. For years there has been anger and upset among villagers who have slammed the state of the area where the caravans and former train carriages are. Both areas are leased by Dover Enterprises from the Isle of Wight Council. Last year, Chair of St Helens Parish Council, Councillor Jonathan Bacon, said previous attempts had been made by the Isle of Wight Council to recover both the land and the carriages from the leaseholder. He said the most likely solution going forward was for a new lease, with stricter requirements to maintain the site. More than a year on, a new lease has been agreed, a spokesperson for the Isle of Wight Council said. Locals say the site remains in a derelict state, with doors falling off the former train carriages, used primarily as beach huts, and the caravan site also remains an eyesore. The council has said it is aware of the condition of the caravan area and understands the tenant has intentions of redeveloping the area, but plans are at an early stage, confirmed. Director of Dover Enterprises, Andrew Palmer, told the county press that plans are afoot to remove the last remaining caravan, confirming there will be great activity come winter. "We will be looking at putting up gorgeous lodges after summer. It's far too busy down there to do any works before," he said. He added that some of the old train carriages will be replaced and others renewed.
Locals living in fear on lethal diversion road. Oliver Dyer. Residents living on an already lethal road turned diversion route say they are now terrified to leave their homes after it became a racecourse. Homeowners on Rolls Hill near Northwood take a deep breath every time they go in and out of their drives, fearing they will be hit by oncoming traffic. We've had problems with this road for years, said A.D. Butler, one of those living in a row of houses, with blind spots at either end. It's bad enough at the best of times, but with the heavier traffic it's even worse now. A one-way system came into place on Horsebridge Hill on Monday, meaning Rolls Hill, a national speed limit road, has become a main route for drivers heading to Cowes. With increased levels of traffic travelling at speed, residents who reverse onto their drives say there have already been a number of near misses and fear it's only a matter of time before someone is killed. Martin and Tracy Molam, who have also noticed a downturn in trade at their shop J&B Fisheries in Cowes since roadworks began, said of Rolls Hill, "It's horrendous." Tracy said she was nearly T-boned on Monday. "I came down the road with my hazards on, put it in reverse, and had one last check, and a car came and how it didn't hit me." Despite warnings from residents, the road speed limit was not reduced prior to the works beginning. In an email sent to a resident on May the 1st, and seen by the country press, Island Road said it anticipated vehicle speeds would be not so high on the road, agreeing to monitor it. Following outcry, the Isle of Wight Council has confirmed the speed limit will be temporarily reduced to 30 miles per hour from today. As the threat to life is very real at the best of times, resident Helen Calloway said they will continue to push for a more permanent review though. Previous attempts have proved fruitless and residents have resorted to spending their own money on speed prevention signage. In 2014-15, we had our driveway done and 2 lorries were written off by people slamming into them, Helen said. When he moved to Rolls Hill around 15 years ago, AD said the route was a back road, but is now frequently used as a thoroughfare. Recent issues have become so unbearable they are now losing sleep. Everything is so fraught because you're so tense and anxious, said Helen. I phoned Island Roads in tears. I'm in and out 8 to 10 times a day because of work and the school run, and I'm terrified. Because of the noise from traffic, Brian Dibble said he has had to move from his bedroom at the front of the house to a room at the back. Huge, temporary national speed limit signs were also placed at the top of Rolls Hill, near Thorners Lane, actively encouraging drivers to put their foot down, residents say. Helen said preparations ahead of the works has been shambolic and questioned whether any risk assessment had been carried out for Rolls Hill. A spokesperson for the council said the responsibility for the roadworks and traffic management arrangements lies with the developer Captiva, which is being managed by their traffic management providers. All the points raised would have been considered as part of the traffic management plan. Approval for the TM works was provided by Island Roads on behalf of the council. Questions over long-term speed issues relate to the Island Speed Review, which is ongoing, they added.
Hard work pays off for Chippy of the Year. A popular takeaway is thrilled to be crowned as this year's County Press Fish and Chip Shop of the Year. The Happy Haddock in Shanklin is committed to serving up the crispiest golden chips and the freshest fish, all with a smile. Mark Tutty is at the helm and is keen to thank all the High Street Takeaways' wonderful customers and the wider Shanklin community for their support. This award means the world to us and is a testament to our team's hard work and dedication, said Mark. I was a chef for years until I started Top Mops 27 years ago. I'd always dreamed of having a fish and chip shop, and now we have 2, one in Sandown. We are super grateful to all the locals who took the time out to put us forward for this award, and we're looking forward to an exciting future. All we have done so far is reinvest in both shops, doing them up to a higher standard. We've had loads of staff training, and we're so pleased to have retained most of the original team members. We also have a new website underway. Mark rescued both shops from closure in September 2023.
Environmental vandals fined thousands for felling of trees. Oliver Dyer. 2 people have been fined for blotting the landscape by illegally cutting down trees. Timothy Royston Parry of Rosetta Gardening, which carried out the works, and Kim Stapley, who instructed them, appeared at the Isle of Wight Crown Court. They pleaded guilty at an earlier hearing. The Isle of Wight Council mounted the prosecution after trees were felled within the Totland Conservation Area on or before March 16, 2023. Formal permission should have been sought before the work was carried out, but this was never obtained. Nearly 90% of the trees in an area measuring around 31 by 32 metres, which is just smaller than 4 tennis courts, were either felled or reduced to stumps. Following an investigation, prosecution was brought against Mr. Royston Parry and Miss Stapley. It was argued that they caused substantial environmental damage in a prominent position in a conservation area and visible for miles from the beach and promenade. Recorder Gibney said, "The island is a beautiful place and canopies of this nature are well respected and protected. This is now a blot on the landscape brought about by your actions." Each received a fine of £2,000 and were ordered to pay prosecution costs of £2,689.62. Welcoming the result, Ollie Bolter, Strategic Manager for Planning and Infrastructure at the Council, said, "This case highlights the importance of adhering to environmental regulations. The illegal removal of trees not only damages the landscape, but also disrupts local ecosystems and wildlife habitats." Councillor Chris Jarman, ward member for Totland and Colville, said, "There was great dismay at these unauthorised works, which so decimated a beautiful area and vista. We trust the view expressed by the judge in his findings and sentence will serve as a clear reminder to all that permission must be sought prior to such felling." Councillor Paul Fuller, Cabinet Member for Planning, Coastal Protection and Flooding, said, "This kind of environmental vandalism is wholly unacceptable, and we will continue to take firm action against those who breach these important safeguards." A third defendant, the landowner, will appear in court later this year.
Special events to welcome arrival of Spanish galleon by Liam Chorley. The arrival of an historic Spanish galleon, a replica of Christopher Columbus's 1492 ship, which voyaged to the Americas, will form part of 2 special events next week. On Wednesday, the now Santa Maria will sail from Spain to the island to fire a 4-cannon salute as part of Armada Coast's 1588 commemorations. The ship will be sailing into Ventnor Bay to swap cannon fire with the Spyglass Inn on Ventnor Esplanade, commemorating the arrival of the Spanish Armada and the Battle of Danoes off the Isle of Wight back in 1588. The replica galleon will fire its salute from 2 to 3 p.m. between St. Lawrence and Bonchurch. It will then head to Cowes, docking at Trinity Landing, and will be open to visitors between Thursday next week, May 22nd, and Monday, May 26th. Cowes will be visited for the first time by the now Santa Maria after more than 3 years in the United States. At 1:30 p.m. next Wednesday in Ventnor, there will be a ceremony at the Esplanade Clock Tower with local dignitaries and bell ringers. Half an hour later, Galleon Santa Maria will arrive, signalling with cannon fire off Woody Bay, the Spyglass, Ventnor Harbour and Bonchurch. Performances from Seagulls, Shanty Singers, Shalfleet Shanty Group and The Watch on Ventnor Esplanade are also planned. At 2:15 p.m, the Spyglass Inn is set to return cannon fire, and at 4 p.m, it will host live music from JC and Angelina. At 6 p.m, there will be evening performances by Seagulls, Brystone Barnacles, Not a Mermaid in Sight, East Cowes Shanties and Wight Ukuleles, plus storytelling from Holly Medland Lees at the Spyglass Inn. The day will also include the opening of the Coastal and Downs Armada 1588 Heritage Trail by Ventnor Town Council, and a selection of Spanish food and drink will be served at the Spyglass Inn. Supported by Spain's Fundación Now Victoria, this event marks the launch of a major heritage project highlighting the island's overlooked role in the Spanish Armada. New research by Ventnor historian David Baldwin challenges long-standing narratives, particularly reinterpreting a letter by George Carey, the island's 1588 captain and governor. His findings reposition a key 5-hour naval battle directly off Bonchurch. Celebrations continue on May 23rd with the first Almirante Recalde Cup bowls match between Ventnor and Cowes, also honouring a lesser-known 1575 Spanish Reconnaissance mission uncovered by Baldwin.
Man drowned after car plunged into the sea. An inquest has been opened into the death of a man whose car left the road and entered the sea in Gurnard last year. Brian McCluskey, 42, a multi-skilled tradesman from Ryde, born in Northumberland, died after his Ford Mondeo went offshore road and into the water at 11:30 on Saturday, November the 30th. Emergency services, including air and sea rescue teams, launched a major search operation at around midnight in the Cowes and Gurnard area. The vehicle was located in the early hours of Sunday, December the 1st. Mr. McCluskey, who was the sole occupant of the car, was found inside and pronounced dead at the scene. A post-mortem carried out by pathologist Dr. Adnan Al-Badri on December the 12th confirmed that the cause of death was drowning. At the inquest opening on Thursday, May the 8th, Isle of Wight coroner Caroline Soumaret offered her condolences to Mr. McCluskey's family. Miss Soumaret confirmed that a full inquest has been provisionally scheduled for November the 10th. The inquest will examine the circumstances leading up to the incident.
Locals weigh in behind new McDonald's plan by Rufus Pickles. A proposal for a multi-million-pound McDonald's restaurant on the outskirts of a village is gathering public support. Islanders have lined up to praise the fast food giant's plans for a new branch with a drive-through facility off Newport Road in Lake, citing job creation, consumer choice and convenience, the area's appearance, increased local tax revenue and a boost to the local economy. Comments on the public consultation have been overwhelmingly positive. McDonald's says the outlet is expected to employ more than 120 full and part-time staff, which it hopes to recruit from the local area. Its application also includes plans for car parking, landscaping and associated works. Member of the public James Berryman said, as part of the consultation, I believe this development presents a valuable opportunity for our community, and I urge you to grant the necessary approvals. The addition of a new McDonald's would provide an attractive and modern dining option, catering to the existing demand within the area. Mr. Berryman added the branch's contribution to business rates would be crucial in supporting the provision of essential services. Another commentator, Stuart Geddes, said, I support this application because it means more jobs, more food options, and it'll be better than what's currently there. Also, if you're having any work done to your vehicle across the road in one of the many businesses, it's somewhere to go, wait, grab a coffee and something to eat. Not all responses have been quite so positive, however. James Wainwright said McDonald's would trash the island with rubbish generated by the outlet being discarded in hedgerows and fields. Another objector, Edward Joynes, said, we should encourage healthy eating and support local businesses and restaurants. The KFC in Lake is always empty, so surely a McDonald's would be the same. Go to publicnoticeportal.uk to find details of Isle of Wight planning applications and other public notices near you via a clickable and searchable interactive map.
Council wasn't consulted over disruption. Cowes Town Council voiced serious concerns with the Horsebridge Hill roadwork scheme and said it was not consulted nor made aware of the junction improvements works and one-way system. Horsebridge Hill will be one-way until July the 4th, meaning motorists driving from Newport will have to follow a 6-mile diversion to get to Cowes. A Cowes Town Council spokesperson said last week they were very concerned about the roadworks over the next couple of months and how these will affect Cowes residents. The Town Council was not consulted nor made aware of the roadworks, so we have not had the opportunity to raise concerns on behalf of Cowes residents. We would very much welcome the opportunity to share our concerns with the relevant authorities.
Celebrating 40 years of clothes shops by Oliver Dyer. A pioneering fashion and clothing retailer has vowed to continue evolving with the times as it celebrates 4 decades in business. Visual Impact, with stores in Watchbell Lane, Newport, was launched by Steve Robson 40 years ago earlier this month. It's been a long journey and there've been ups and downs, but we're chuffed to have hit the milestone, Steve told the county press. When he first started out in 1985, Steve recalls his main customer being clubbers. The Isle of Wight's party scene was big at the time, thanks to zanies, bogies and court jester. Clubbers were coming in Friday afternoon and buying something for the weekend, he said. 99% of my stuff was bought to wear that night. Whether it was luck or judgment, in around 1986, about a month before the famous Nick Kamen washing machine TV advert came out, Steve took on brand Levi's. The day after it aired, customers were queuing in the street, and Steve sold 30 pairs of Levi jeans, which remains a record to this day. The business was also the 4th or 5th in the country to stock diesel jeans, and was also buying Ted Baker shirts off the company's founder at the time. We were there when menswear brands really took off, Steve said. Around 4 or 5 years after the opening of the men's store, Steve expanded the business, adding the ladies' shop, but remembers being surprised by the different shopping habits. Men buy a t-shirt when the sun's shining and a raincoat when it starts raining 10 minutes later. Women think a bit further forward, he said. Fast forward to 2025, and one of the business's most popular assets is the suit shop, also based off Watchbell Lane. While many retailers have turned to online, Steve has focused on good service, having a lot of stock and evolving with the industry. The most important thing is change all the way through from day one, he said. So that's what we've done. As something's tailed off, we've filled it with something else. We're quicker than the internet because customers can walk in and 5 minutes later they're walking out with something that they know fits them and they've had a good service. Despite turning 40, the business still has a young mind, Steve said, and he will continue trying to bring new fashion to the island. We want to offer more brands, the same service, and hopefully we'll be celebrating 50 years.
Arrest after memorial incident. A man in his 20s has been arrested after a vehicle was damaged and a war memorial flower bed vandalised in Ventnor on Tuesday night. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary were alerted shortly after 10 p.m. to reports of a man shouting and damaging a vehicle. The incident happened on Park Avenue outside Ventnor Park. A nearby resident posted a warning on social media informing locals that the male had allegedly destroyed one of their neighbours' cars and one of the flower beds at the war memorial. Officers attended the scene and arrested a 29-year-old man on suspicion of criminal damage. The man was taken into custody.
Apartments planned for old care home by Rufus Pickles. A former care home will be turned into high-quality housing. County Hall planners have approved Chris Daines of In Safe Hands Home Care's change of use application to convert Bluebell House at 74 to 76 Mitchell Avenue in Ventnor into 3 apartments. Bluebell House Residential Care Home closed in October 2022 due to a lack of staff availability, according to Mr. Daines' application form. A submitted planning statement said the proposal will bring the property back into residential use, so various people living, staying and visiting can enjoy the sea views, surrounding area and everything Ventnor has to offer. It is disappointing that the continued use of Bluebell House as a care home is not economically viable, based on the historic operations stopping in 2022. Various news reports since, and our inquiries with various care home businesses and a commercial letting company, where we found no interest in considering this opportunity or confidence in marketing this opportunity successfully due to the history and state of repair. This proposal offers various sized dwellings, from a 2-bedroom apartment up to a 6-bedroom property, rather than purely converting the building back to 2 6-bedroom semi-detached houses as this was in the past. There is sufficient parking under the relevant guidance for the proposed dwellings, based on the 5 spaces available and required. This is in addition to being walking distance from Ventnor town and on the main bus route through Ventnor. Officers wrote, from a cursory review of the property during the case officer's site visit, it is accepted that there are challenges in terms of bringing the building back into use to meet modern care home requirements, as well as likely financial challenges in the current economic climate. The proposed use is likely to have less potential impact on neighbours in terms of noise and disturbance than the previous care home use. Given the proximity to public transport services and the town centre, the proposed level of parking provision would be acceptable, noting that there would be a reduction in parking demand in terms of visitor parking and for staff compared to the previous care home use.
Runaway raccoons back. The famous 4 raccoons who captured hearts and headlines after staging a daring escape at Amazon World Zoo Park are now officially back on show. Marion, Alma, Myrtle, Dakota, and Winnipeg, 5 North American raccoon sisters, can once again be seen by visitors after months behind the scenes as zookeepers work to upgrade their enclosure and ensure their security. On October the 1st last year, just weeks after arriving at the attraction as rescues, 4 of the 5 raccoons made a dramatic overnight breakout from their enclosure. While Marion opted to stay put, her sister slipped through a hole in the roof, no more than 4 inches wide, having broken through 2 layers of protection. What followed was a week-long operation to find them. Drones, thermal cameras, and even sniffer dogs were used in the search, with all 4 escapees eventually recovered within the zoo's grounds. Since then, the zoo has been carefully monitoring the raccoons' health and behaviour while working to improve the security of their home. A new roof has now been installed on the raccoon enclosure, designed to keep the animals safe and in place.
Wight Memories and Nostalgia. VE Celebrations Back in the Day by John Marino. The Isle of Wight experienced an unprecedented outpouring of joy on VE Day 80 years ago. On May the 8th, 1945, victory in Europe was officially declared, marking the end of the Second World War. Winston Churchill's historic radio announcement of the total surrender of German forces brought islanders from every corner out into the streets to celebrate. Though the victory was well known in advance, the official announcement, days later, gave islanders time to prepare for street parties, parades, Thanksgiving services, bonfires, and more. The county press summed up the jubilation perfectly 4 days later. The ringing of bells, the crack and glow of fireworks, the flashing and waving of searchlights, which were no longer concentrating on enemy raiders, and the cheerful gleams from lightly curtained windows all added to the memorable celebration. May the 8th, 1945, will be one of the most notable dates in history. In Newport, the Guildhall balcony was festively decorated with the flags of Great Britain, the United States, and the Soviet Union, alongside scarlet geraniums, lilac and lupins. A massive programme of events at the former Albany Barracks was organised by the men of 1st Parachute Regiment. This included boxing contests, dog and horse racing, conjuring, donkey rides, rifle shooting, a treasure hunt, a dance and pillow fights. Huge crowds gathered to listen to Churchill's announcement, relayed from loudspeakers at the town hall. Newport Mayor Mr. H. Whitehead told the crowd, "After 5.5 years of blood, sweat, toil and tears, this is the most important day in our lives since September 3rd, 1939, when war broke out. I congratulate you all on having worked heart and soul for the greatest victory ever recorded in the annals of mankind." Street parties were abundant. When the county press interviewed Victor Jervis of Greenways, Newport, 10 years ago, he recalled the celebration from when he lived in Cross Lane. "It was a marvellous day," he said. "For me, VE Day meant my dad was coming home. I missed him terribly."
In Ventnor, a large gathering was held at the Winter Gardens, with the dancing accompanied by an orchestra hurriedly arranged by a returned prisoner of war. At St. Catherine's Church, the Evening Institute Choir performed with a collection in aid of the local homecoming fund. Shanklin saw a parade of youngsters, led by boy buglers and drummers, who marched through the town. In Cowes, Scenes reminiscent of pre-war yachting festivals heralded VE Day, but instead of steam and motor yachts, hundreds of sailing craft, large transports, tugs, and small ships of war lay at anchor. Thousands of employees were giving their first 2-day holiday in almost 6 years, with the closing of all the works and shipyards. The whole of Sandown came out to make the High Street and Esplanade one big party. When the county press interviewed Cyril Daish in 2015, he was aged 15 at the time and lived in Station Avenue. He remembered the VE Day celebrations vividly. I remember sitting on the Esplanade railings near the pier, playing the cornet with my friend who had a squeeze box. We played favourite tunes of the time, with more than 200 gathered there. Everyone sang along, danced, and had a good time. There was a great party atmosphere. Philip Woodford was 14 and lived above the Fields Menwear clothing store in the High Street at the time. He said, "Sandown was like a little Times Square. The whole town came out to celebrate." Like Newport, Wight Town Hall unfurled the flags of Britain, USA, the USSR, and China, and was festooned with coloured electric lights. And hundreds gathered there to listen to Churchill's announcement. At War Savings House, the colours of the 3 armed services were displayed and lit up. In Freshwater, the former Regent Cinema entertained troops with a free film screening, and there were large gatherings at a united service of Thanksgiving at Stroud Recreation Ground. In Yarmouth, a bonfire was lit on the recreation ground, with community singing, accompanied by a hastily improvised band, which comprised whistles, saucepan lids, and other improvised instruments, alongside the more traditional types. There were also a myriad of celebration events in East Cowes and at villages around the island.
The island really needs a hovercraft emoji from Matthew Chatfield, columnist. In this whirlwind of digital communication we navigate, the emoji has become a potent tool. A well-placed smiley face can soften a terse message. A thumbs up can convey swift agreement, and a string of party poppers can share joyous news without typing a word. From hieroglyphics to pixels, we've always sought succinct expression. Yet for us islanders, there's a glaring omission in this colourful lexicon. A void frankly more noticeable with each Solent crossing. I speak of the majestic, iconic and utterly indispensable hovercraft. Now, I'm sure the Unicode Consortium, our emoji gatekeepers, are frightfully busy. They're no doubt deliberating over the precise curvature of a new croissant emoji or the exact shade of a contemplative face. We appreciate their diligence. We have emojis for steam trains, for cruise ships, even for a rather futuristic-looking monorail, but no hovercraft. How can this be? Imagine the scene. You're gliding across the water, the Spinnaker Tower shrinking in your wake, a sea fort slipping by. You want to share this moment, to send a quick message to a loved one. Just leaving Southsea, be with you soon. And then you reach for the emoji keyboard. A ferry, too pedestrian. A speedboat, not quite the same gravitas. A rocket, well, perhaps a slight exaggeration of its speed. The current situation is frustrating. I've found myself resorting to unsatisfactory combinations, perhaps a ship, a gust of wind, and a bird's wing, hoping the recipient deciphers my Solent-specific shorthand. It's hardly ideal, possible, but you lose something in the translation. Think of the sheer utility. A quick tap of a hovercraft emoji could signify, "I'm on my way over." meet you at the terminal, or even, with a preceding sad face, "Oh dear, it looks like the hover might be off due to this pesky fog." The possibilities are endless, and the boost to island pride immeasurable. Perhaps this seems a trivial matter in the grand scheme of things, but isn't it often the small, everyday things that bring a touch of joy, or, in this case, a minor but persistent niggle? We island dwellers are a practical, innovative bunch. We built the world's first commercial passenger hovercraft service, for goodness sake. Surely we deserve the digital equivalent to acknowledge this pioneering spirit. So I put it to you, fellow hovercraft fans, and perhaps even to those mysterious emoji arbiters across the globe, isn't it time the hovercraft took its rightful place amongst the digital icons of our age? It's a small ask, but one that would bring a disproportionate amount of satisfaction to those of us who know and love these remarkable machines. After all, if there's room for a floppy disk emoji, a relic most of Generation Z have never encountered, there's certainly space for a vessel that continues to zip across our waters with such distinctive panache. Let the campaign commence. Now, who knows the email address for the Unicode Consortium?
Residents left confused and angry from Councillor Phil Jordan, Isle of Wight Council leader. There's always a danger in trying to explain situations that need lots of information and knowledge to fully understand the complexity of any pressing problem. And so we have seen that just recently, with the welcome development of around 200 social houses being built and provided just off Horsebridge Hill. No one can honestly say these homes are not vital for those in temporary accommodation or on the island housing list, and are a great move forward to provide local, social rented homes for the island. The works are being carried out by private developers working in conjunction with a housing association provider and using civil engineering contractors for the necessary roadworks. It is not a council development or roadwork scheme. However, it falls to Island Roads to approve and manage the traffic management plan, which is required to facilitate the necessary roadworks that will connect the much-needed housing development onto the existing highways network. And all we've been seeking is that provision and the explanation about how and why the current traffic management plan has been implemented. Residents are confused and angry, and yet we're getting a systematic approach of a lack of partnership working, a lack of information being sent out, and instead a blame game towards the council. I want to make this absolutely clear. The responsibility for the traffic management plan lies entirely with third-party organisations, developers, their contractors and Island Roads to ensure the disruption is minimised and safe working and safe passage is ensured. Councillors have not been consulted prior to 2 weeks ago. Residents and businesses have not been consulted. Following the council meeting, small changes have been made to the traffic management plan, which are welcome, but acceptance of responsibility still seems a long way off. Part of this situation derives from ongoing disputes the council has over the contractual issues with Island Roads and the recent decisions to move to the legal process of adjudication over what the council believes are breaches of contract. The commercial and contractual disputes with Island Roads are impacting our island, our communities and our residents, and we're determined to ensure that the millions of pounds paid each year under the PFI contract is supported by the contracted services and highway management being delivered without all of this disruption to our island. And now here we have an item for public information. It says important to support retailers and stop theft by Superintendent Rob Mitchell, Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary. Shoplifting is a topic that I regularly see our island residents discussing. It's important to remember that shoplifting shouldn't be seen in isolation. It often goes hand in hand with other funds or other forms of crime. In a similar way, our response to shoplifting goes hand in hand with retailers themselves, the courts, the Isle of Wight Chamber of Commerce, and other agencies. It's an area of crime where repeat offenders may be involved, and so reporting is essential to help us to build a picture about what is happening. The incident itself may not require an immediate police response if threats of violence have not been used, but there may well already be work going on behind the scenes to address the individual involved and prevent them from offending again. Retail workers shouldn't be subjected to violence while undertaking their jobs. We're working hard to ensure this doesn't happen. It's not just large retailers that we work with to address the bigger picture surrounding shoplifting either. Following the pandemic, the Shopwatch scheme in Newport has been in hibernation. It's now been relaunched, and we've been supporting the scheme, which already has 21 retailers in the town of various sizes all signed up. The scheme has issued 36 banning letters, which means all of the retailers involved can remove the person from their premises, and it provides us with a basis from which to tackle that individual if they breach their ban that could last up to 5 years. Elsewhere on the island, we have a specific shoplifting operation called Suppress, which is overseen by West Wight Neighbourhood Policing Team to support local businesses and tackle repeat offenders. We've also adopted the approach taken elsewhere, where investigators can seek a charge without the need to interview adult suspects for a shoplifting offence if the evidence is compelling, to speed up the time it takes for offenders to face their day in court. We also utilise community protection warnings and notices and criminal behaviour orders on regular offenders to place restrictions on them to prevent further theft from local businesses. We're also working with the Office of the Police and Crime Commissioner to explore how best value can be obtained for local retailers who want to use the UK Partners Against Crime service. This offers a crime reporting platform for shops where they can also share intelligence and communicate directly with each other. Usage has already been piloted elsewhere, so I'm pleased that it's now becoming available for retailers on the island.
Forthcoming events. On Sunday 25th of May, the Dairy Open Garden at 2 p.m. The Open Garden is at 196 Carisbrook Road, and the opening hours are 2 to 5 p.m. This is in aid of Alzheimer's Cafe, Isle of Wight.
On Friday, the 23rd of the 5th to the 26th of the 5th, Open Studio, Freshwater Parish Hall Group at 11 a.m. Open Studios is back in full swing across the island, but make sure to check out main websites for full details, as dates may differ from venue to venue. Freshwater Parish Hall, 12 Victoria Road, Freshwater, White Glass, gmail.com .079 700 25525.
On Sunday the 1st of June, there's Cows Classics Day from 10:30 a.m. This is the 5th annual Cows Classics Day. It's a free community event on the parade in Cowes during Cowes Classics Regatta. The telephone number for any further information is 077 121 91077.
On Tuesday, going back a bit, on Tuesday the 20th of May, a pop-up art exhibition at 10 a.m. 20th of May to the 24th of May. Island artist Sharon Ould will be holding a pop-up art exhibition in the back room of God's Hill Methodist Church from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. each day. Free entry and free parking in the main village car park. God's Hill Methodist Church, God's Hill, sharonold.a, gmail.com, and the telephone number is 07522 556067.
Theatre to stage world premiere. Do people get more conservative as they age? A new play being staged by the Apollo Theatre Players as a world premiere looks at just that notion. The actors are preparing to stage the play, Radical Change, at the Apollo Theatre in Newport, premiering on Friday, May the 23rd. Brian Walsh's play addresses shifting generational beliefs and social inequalities, a theme the playwright describes as subscribing to the notion that people tend to get more conservative as they age. The story opens in 1988, focusing on the character Carl. Carl is determined to bring down the middle classes, but his principles shift when challenged by Elizabeth. By the time he reaches his 50s, Carl's status has changed along with his principles. Audience members can expect a fast-paced narrative exploring human adaptability to society's constant evolution. The esteemed author, not new to the theatre, began writing his plays in his 50s. You can catch a performance from May the 23rd to the 31st of May, but no performances on Sunday or Monday.
And now here's one more for Friday, the 30th of May. Astronomy talk, Hawkins' Black Holes and the Edge of Physics, at 7:30 p.m. Can nothing escape from a black hole? The idea intrigued young Stephen Hawking. His 1976 paper combining two pillars of physics, general relativity and quantum mechanics, shocked the scientific world. Talk by Dr. Paul Fellows, New Church Recreation Ground Pavilion, Watery Lane, New Church. Simon Gardner, 344, or agmail.com. And the telephone number is 522693.
We now have a selection of letters to the county press. Concern for Democracy from Anne Grant of Fareham. Andrew Grand's letter, Dysfunctional Voting System, published in County Press on the 9th of May, pinpoints the way the first past the post, FPTP, electoral system now results in a government, mayors and local councils unrepresentative of the majority of votes cast. Is this what is fueling the volatility within the electorate? The system not only resulted in a 2024 Labour government that 2/3 of voters did not want, it also resulted in May 2025 councillors and mayors elected by a minority and, arguably, by mass apathy. Does the old saying, "you get what you vote for," still hold true? Increasingly, it is not only the wide spread of votes between many more parties on the ballot, it's the majority of voters who don't vote that determine who rules our lives. If those elected by a minority fail to perform quickly to the electorate's liking, then the pendulum will swing against them at the next election. The odds are stacked against them from the start, with the majority not wanting them in charge. One high-profile mayoral election in May saw a Reform UK mayor elected on what was described by the media as a thumping majority of about 40,000 votes. True, she won with 42% of the vote, but only 30% of electorate bothered to vote, 70% stayed home. Each 30 in every 100 who voted elected a mayor on less than 14% of the total electorate for that county. Correct my maths if I'm interpreting that wrongly, but it does question the thumping majority description caused by first past the post. 86% of voters either voted against or stayed home, abstentions. It will only take a small number of that 86% and some disillusioned of the 14% across that county to get out and vote next time, and the volatile electorate will swing towards another candidate. Next year, Hampshire and Isle of Wight voters will have their chance to elect new councils and a mayor. Will it produce similar results? Like Andrew Grand, I'm concerned for the future of democracy. Currently, it seems that apathy and disillusionment rules.
Info on family, most welcome. A letter from Rick Baker, Kamloops, BC, Canada. I'm looking for any information on living descendants of William Price, who married my great-aunt Beatrice Marion Baker on December the 20th, 1913, at St. Stephen and the Martyr in Hampstead. William died December the 20th, 1962, at the Shanklin Cottage Hospital. Beatrice died in 1982. They had one son, Raymond James Price, born 1922, died 2001, who married Dorothy Duff, October 1939. They had 4 children: Terence Raymond James Price, born February the 16th, 1940, Michael V.J. Price, born January 1943, Keith Leslie Alfred Price, born January 1946, and Melvin G.P. Price, born October 1949. Letters from Beatrice to my mother indicated that Beatrice lived at Crown Ash on Wilton Road, and at one time was the proprietor of the Hollies in Godshill. She and her son Raymond had an interest in Rosemont. Beatrice later moved to Culver Cottage, New Road, Brading. The reason I ask about any living relatives is that my wife and I will be visiting her cousin in Lymington in November, and I would be very interested if there are any living descendants of William and Beatrice still on the Isle of Wight. If there are, they may be interested in the Bakers that immigrated to Winnipeg, Manitoba, and her brother Leopold Archibald George Baker, who settled in Victoria, British Columbia in 1927. Any information would be most welcome. Email the County Press on editor a isleofwightcp.co.uk to have your message passed on.
Seeking contents of family letters, letter from Richard Wilson of Newport. Back in the 1980s, my father sold his grandfather's First World War medal and a collection of letters relating to Frank McCarthy, DCM, 7085 Cheshire Regiment, via the medal shop in Newport. I have contacted the owner, and he doesn't have any records and can't remember who bought them. Are they still on the island? As part of my family history research, I would be interested in the contents of the letters more than anything. I couldn't afford to buy the medals back anyway. I'm led to believe they have never come up for sale again. I have a few faded photocopies of his citation and other documents, but nothing of the original letters. If you can help, please make contact on 07769 608 331 or richard.h.a.wilson@gmail.com.
Courtesy needed on the tracks. Local cyclist, name and address supplied. As a regular user of the beautiful Red Squirrel Trail between Sandown and Merston, I've always appreciated the mixed-use nature of this route. Walkers, cyclists and horse riders all share this green corridor, which is one of the jewels of the Isle of Wight. However, a recent encounter left me concerned about the tone of interactions between different trail users. On a sunny Sunday afternoon, while cycling at a moderate pace along a long straight section of the trail heading towards Sandown, I noticed a horse and rider ahead, approximately 100 to 150 yards in the distance. Aware of how unpredictable horses can be, especially around bikes, I began slowing down well in advance. By the time I was within 75 yards, I had reduced to walking speed and moved to the opposite side of the trail to give them space. To my surprise, the rider began shouting and waving at me to slow down, despite the fact that I had already done so. As I approached slowly, she accused me in a raised and aggressive tone of putting her horse at risk and claimed it might kick my bike. While I understand that horses can be nervous and require space, I was taken aback by the confrontational and accusatory tone. I calmly pointed out that I had already slowed considerably and was taking care. In return, I was met with further verbal hostility. I regret that the exchange ended with raised voices and mutual frustration, but it left me reflecting on an important issue. Why is it that even when cyclists behave cautiously and respectfully, there can still be such hostility? Shouldn't good behavior be acknowledged, not punished with aggression? We all have a responsibility to make shared spaces work. Cyclists must slow for horses and give a wide berth, especially if a horse appears nervous. Equally, horse riders could consider that not every cyclist is a speed demon or reckless. When someone demonstrates caution and respect, a courteous nod or word of thanks goes a long way to encourage positive behavior. The Red Squirrel Trail is a place for enjoyment and tranquility for all. If we want it to remain a safe, inclusive space, we must approach each other with patience, empathy, and the benefit of doubt.
So it's goodbye from John.
And goodbye from Ursula.
The BBC In Touch programme follows, and the Scaffolding News follows that.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello. Later, more on those Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses, which recently have become even smarter.
Hey Meta, look and see. What shop is to my left?
The shop to your left is Specsavers.
Didn't do that on purpose, I promise. How far away is the ATM?
The ATM is located on the wall of the building to your left, approximately 20 to 30 feet away.
Look and tell me what door number I'm stood in front of, please.
You are standing in front of door number 106.
Perfect.
So, what can they do, and why have some features taken so long to reach the UK? We'll be putting those questions and some more to Meta's Director of Public Policy. But first, the Association of Optometrists has produced a report saying that thousands of older visually impaired people are missing out on vital support because they're often not receiving the registration that gives access to it. They blame these delays on the shortage of ophthalmologists, eye doctors to you and me, who are at the moment the only professionals with the authority to register people as being severely sight impaired or visually impaired. They're now lobbying MPs to extend that authority to optometrists, which is already possible if you live in Wales. Well, I'm joined by Adam Sampson, the association's chief executive. Adam, can you describe what services and care people are missing out on?
There's a variety of care that is offered to people once they have got a formal diagnosis of visual impairment. Some of those services are obviously offered by charities, but many of them are funded by the NHS. And in order to be able to get access to the sort of services we're talking about, you would need something called a certificate of visual impairment. And that's the document which formally has to be signed in order to entitle you to get emotional support with the emotional impact of your diagnosis, but also practical help in learning how to negotiate how you manage your life now you are officially visually impaired.
What's the extent of the problem? I mean, do we know how many people we're talking about?
We've surveyed our members, and over half of our members regularly see people who are visually impaired but don't have a certificate yet. And the reason for that is obvious, that we know that hospital eye care services are desperately overworked. We know that there is a massive shortage of ophthalmologists. And so you're asking everybody to pass through this very narrow, overcrowded corridor to get the certificate in order to get access to the services. Now, as you've suggested, in other parts of the UK, in Wales in particular, you don't need to see an ophthalmologist to get the certificate. You can get a certificate from your high street optometrist, who after all has trained for 4 years in eye care. It's a medical qualification. They're perfectly capable of certifying somebody as visually impaired.
It's still a bit hard to understand why there are these delays. It's only signing a piece of paper, isn't it, Adam?
Well, you know what it's like in all professions, and the medical profession is just like it. You have these historical hierarchies, and certain tasks are, for historical reasons, reserved for the most important people in the hierarchy. And that appears to be what's happening in this case. Ophthalmologists are the pinnacle of eye care specialists in this country, and historically they're the ones with the power to sign the certificate, but things have moved on. This is just one of those things that we also need to start delegating out to the 16,000 optometrists that are working in High Street, rather than the 2,000 ophthalmologists that you can only get to in a hospital setting.
What are the financial implications of this to patients? You know, if optometrists were given this authority, I mean, would there be a cost to the patient as there is now with eye tests, for example?
Well, with most of the patients that we're talking about, assuming that this came under what is called the GOS, the General Ophthalmic Services contract, that would be absolutely free to the patient. And for the vast majority of people who are visually impaired, that would certainly be true, particularly if they're elderly people and they get access to free sight tests anyway. There may be, and we'd have to work it out, there may be an additional cost to government to pay optometrists for their time in signing the certificate, but that's a different thing. It would certainly be free to patients, and it ultimately would save them money, because at the moment, in order to get the certificate, they've got to make their way to a hospital.
So what's next, Adam? We've mentioned that you're lobbying the government on this. What exactly did you want them to do?
We just want optometrists in England to be given exactly the same powers that their colleagues in Wales have to sign these certificates. It's not a difficult ask. There aren't very many profound financial implications. This is just tidying up a piece of administrative nonsense for the benefit of patients, and we are hopeful that any minister worth their salt will see this and go, yes, this is an obvious quick win.
But it sounds as if you don't think it actually needs legislation, that it's administrative.
Oh, it's administrative only. It doesn't require legislation. It's just a change to the current arrangements. It's administration. This is not one of the most profound asks that I've ever had to campaign for, but its implications for the hundreds of thousands of people are actually very profound.
Adam Sampson, thank you very much indeed. Now, this next item highlights the striking contrast which exists between the struggles you can experience in those early days of diagnosis and what technology, increasingly driven by developments in AI, can provide for blind people with the technical know-how and the financial resources to take advantage of it. For instance, there's been growing excitement about the potential of the Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses, equipped with a camera and connected to a smartphone to give you all kinds of information about the world around you, both inside and outside of your home. Some of the AI features have been a little slow in making their way over here from the States and other countries, But the long anticipated process of rollout has been happening over the last few weeks. And in a moment, we're going to be talking to the Director of Public Policy at one of the companies who produced them. But first, I'm joined by Martin Ralph, who's been posting his experiences of using this on Instagram and TikTok. Martin, first of all, just explain the impact of these glasses on you, because you've only had them pretty recently, and tell us what they can do.
So the impact genuinely has been pretty immense. I did think, is this a gimmick? Is this something that won't work for me? So when I got my set and set them up, some of the differences that came through were, for example, going to Aldi. We all know, going the shopping. It always seems to be the bane of my life anyway. Particularly my little Aldi, they've redesigned, they've rejigged everything. I used to know where everything was. I don't anymore. The glasses came in really handy, and this is not an AI perspective. This was purely through the camera and using the live feed. So I took the opportunity to try it with my wife. So using the glasses, you're able to have a video call with somebody else, via that through WhatsApp Messenger video or Facebook Messenger video. And on this occasion, she was able to guide me from the sugar to the bread and keeping me away from the middle aisle. So she was able to keep tabs on me in that sense. But yeah, there's no AI whatsoever, and just being able to get me navigated around the shop where the layout had completely changed. But the other actual AI elements that are really useful that I've used it for is reading letters, reading prescription labels. One area that's always been inaccessible to people with sight loss is advertisements. And I've been able to have a shufty at some advertisements and stuff as well. So it's really opening the world up. And that sounds so cliche.
And this is the look and tell function, isn't it, that we've been actually
Correct.
Waiting for. So how much has this enhanced what the basic offering was?
So the basic offering of the Meta AI was meant to be all about just ask questions like, hey Meta, what's the tallest building in the world? And obviously it would come out with the Burj Khalifa, and then you could ask follow-up questions. It was like just having that companion, but on your glasses, on your face, if you like. No real benefit to people with sight loss. So the look and see, or the look and tell, it gets marketed in very different ways globally, but the look and see functionality is literally leaps and bounds ahead of what we had in the UK and what we've been waiting on for months.
Well, as promised, I've been talking to Chris Yu. He's Director of Public Policy at Meta, and putting both my and listeners' questions to him. I began by asking how a company making smart and elegant glasses like Ray-Ban got the idea of combining this with technology that can give blind people literally a window on the world.
Meta has been around for a long time. Our company exists to help people connect through technology. And as you say, with the Ray-Ban Meta glasses, we've packed a huge amount of technology into them in pursuit of our ambition to make this as accessible and widely available to people as possible.
Now, potentially one of the most helpful features for blind and partially sighted people is the look and tell function. Many people in the UK were really keen to start using this feature, but I have to tell you, people were a bit puzzled by the seemingly random way in which the rollout took place. And we even know of cases where people in the same household, some got access, some didn't. What happened there? Can you explain why the rollout took quite a long time and was a bit random?
Yeah, I can appreciate that it maybe feels that way to folks sometimes, but this is pretty standard practice in the technology industry. When we are doing something like this at very large scale, we always roll out gradually to make sure that happens smoothly and people get a stable, positive experience.
No, but I'm just interested. I mean, how do you decide who gets it and who doesn't?
Well, it's not so much a case of deciding who does and who doesn't, but rather just pushing it out gradually across all the people who have the glasses and the other technologies. Sometimes a little bit of patience might be required, but it will get to everybody.
So it is just random then? It's like a raffle draw?
It just takes some time because there are so many people to reach. One thing I will say for your listeners, if they want to check for the updates on the glasses, they can do that check themselves in the Meta AI app. So if they go to settings, and I think you press glasses and privacy and then glasses update, that will try and fetch the update if it's available to them.
I suppose the thing that goes with this, Chris, is that, people were saying to us that, throughout this rollout, it was difficult to get answers from Meta. Why do you think that happened?
We tried to provide as much information to folk as possible. We did the publications around the launch on April 10th when we first put this out. As I say, it can take a little bit of time for these things to get out there. Everyone in the UK will either have access already or they will in the very near future.
Right. Now, we've asked a few of our listeners, or they've approached us with a couple of questions for you about this. Yusuf has been using the look and tell function, but he's experiencing some inconsistencies with the AI. This was his question.
I've held up a book and asked the Ray-Ban Meta glasses to read what's in front of them. And sometimes I will get a summary and sometimes I will get a verbatim reading of the text. But there seems to be no consistency in that. And I was wondering why that is.
So, Chris, what's the answer to that?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I can see how important that is. I think one of the things to remember with AI technology is that it's simultaneously incredibly advanced and very, very smart, and it's also continuously evolving. And so just in the same way that when you have the same conversation with somebody a couple of times, you might not go through exactly the same words and sentences. You will get sometimes slightly different responses from the AI. We are always working to improve this. I think one thing that's really important to us is hearing the feedback from users. So it's really great to get these insights from folk who are using the glasses. For us to hear that is really, really helpful. And I think the technology will continue improving.
What's the situation with the rollout of the live AI feature in the UK? Perhaps first you could explain exactly what it is.
Yeah, and I appreciate there's been a lot of interest in this. So the live AI feature, which we are just testing at the moment, lets you have a continuous conversation with the AI. The glasses have a continuous feed of what you're looking at, and you can continue talking back and forth with them in a very natural way. We are starting to test this for some users in the US. Right now, I haven't got any more updates for you about the UK.
Right. Connor raised this.
Blind people are using the Meta glasses for perhaps more private things than sighted people are, to identify items in our homes, to read paperwork. How can we ensure that any images that are taken on the glasses are treated with the level of privacy that is required for sensitive data? And will there be more robust controls implemented in the app so that users of the glasses have increased control over their data?
So, Chris, what's the answer to that?
Yeah, really important. And privacy is always top of mind for us. There are controls within the app around how data is shared. I think, like at a very simple level for your listeners, the interactions that you have there, the pictures that you take with the glasses, they are private to you. As a user, you've got all the controls around that you should need. And, we keep debating it and paying attention to it as the technology evolves.
Right. This next question came from Ellen.
I was just wondering whether you would consider implementing with Aira visual interpreting service. I know that you do have direct integration with Be My Eyes, but both offer very different things. Aira have trained interpreters that can work with navigation, dealing with sensitive issues, and I think it would just be really, really good to have a hands-free option.
So just for people who don't know, Aira is a kind of professional version of Be My Eyes. Chris, can you tell us what the thinking is about how that might work and what the answer to Ellen's question is about Aira?
Yeah, look, I don't have sort of specifics on Aira, but I would say more generally, like we are always open-minded about the partnerships that we can put in place. There are all sorts of things that, ideas that we and others have about how the glasses and AI might evolve in future. So I hope we can look at that suggestion and many others as we continue to build future iterations.
Chris, you there. Martin Ralph is still with me listening to that. Some slightly careful responses there. What was your reaction and what will you be looking out for as this technology develops?
So to really reiterate the point, very, very careful responses. That was exactly what I picked up on. The live AI is massive. That's the limitation I found is I want to keep surveying a scene and I've got to keep taking snaps and say, hey, Meta, do this, do that. So really looking forward to that. But overall, I suppose it's early days and the technology is looking promising. It's just interesting to see commitment is to people with disabilities and visual impairments going forward.
Ray-Ban Meta, they're not the only people in this market. What else is available and how do they compare?
The other types of technology that exist similar to this, myself and yourself, Pete, will be aware, and a lot of your listeners will obviously be the Orcam, but obviously that's been discontinued. But that was quite an expensive bit of kit, to be frank. Then you've got Envision AI glasses. Again, they are somewhat expensive, but there are other ones that are coming as well that are looking to be direct competition, dare I say, to Meta Ray-Bans, which are called Favionics. So the market in itself, there isn't really one. Right now, if you sit on the fence with it, you've got your expensive assistive technology labelled ones such as Envision AI, marked up to £2,500, and then you look at Meta Ray-Ban and go 300 and go, well, I'll go with the mainstream. But my only concern is with the mainstream, although it is of course cheaper, is that we're beholden to them. They're not telling us what will come and what will go, whereas assistive technology manufacturers are doing it for one reason, and that's to support people that have low vision and sight loss. So that's my only area of concern with Meta generally, is will they keep pace with the disability community?
Martin Rowell, thanks very much for coming on. That's it for today, but do keep letting us have your views and your questions. You can email in touch at bbc.co.uk. You can leave your comments and questions on 0161 836 1338. From me, Peter Wight, and producer Beth Hemmings, goodbye.
Scaffolding and Skips news, week commencing 16th of May 2025. Newport area, Guildhall, Quayside, Quay Street. Cafe Isola, St James Street. Man in the Moon, 16 to 17 St James Street.
Ride area, 35 High Street, Bembridge. Aspire, 35 to 36 High Street. 2 Union Street, and ride area skips, the Lodge, Ferry Road, Sea View. Sandown area, the Montpelier Hotel, 5 Pearce Street.
Here is the Sight for Wight newsletter for spring 2025.
Sight for Wight newsletter, spring 2025. Your local sight loss charity. Farewell to Lisa. Spotlight on Robert. Sight for Wight celebrates 160 years. Meet volunteers Tracy and Matt. Access rights for guide dogs. AI intelligent telephone assistant. Dress for less, plus much, much more. Millbrook House, 137 Carisbrooke Road, Newport, Isle of Wight, PO30 1DD. Charity number 1149415, company number 062400404. Front cover shows a photograph of our CEO, Lisa.
Hello and welcome to our spring newsletter for 2025. As usual, you will find it packed with our usual updates, activities and helpful information, which I'm sure you will enjoy reading. This issue is a little different in that we want to reflect on Lisa Holyhead's role as CEO during the last 5 years. Sadly for us, Lisa is retiring from the charity and moving on to new and exciting challenges. She has made such an enormous difference to all facets of our charity life. Think of the number of activities we can offer, the help supplied from our knowledgeable and supportive staff, and how, through her determined and innovative fundraising, we are still at the forefront of island life and the visually and hearing impaired community. It has been my privilege to have worked with Lisa as CEO during the last 5 years. Her energy and enthusiasm for improving the lives for all those living with sensory loss has been inspiring. Lisa's financial skills have been central to the ongoing viability of the charity and to the provision of the support, education, and activities we can provide. Because of her exceptional leadership and tireless dedication, forging links with other organisations, speaking at conferences, and innovative applications, for example, our QR code, the charity has become energised and proactive. We are recognised as providing an essential service to all visually and hearing impaired islanders. I am immensely grateful for all her contributions and wish her all the best for the future. We are in the process of trying to find her replacement. A hard act to follow, as I'm sure you will agree. But what a tremendous legacy for our next CEO to carry forward. Thank you.
Hello, this is Lisa reading the CEO update. Hello and welcome to our newsletter. For anyone who has not yet heard, this is likely to be my penultimate edition. I am due to retire from the role of CEO over the next few months. I've made the difficult decision to retire, having reached the grand age of 55, to enable me to spend time with my children before they leave the nest for university and college. However, my 55th birthday corresponds with the date in 1865 when the charity was first born. John Cooper wrote to the local paper, the Isle of Wight Observer, asking for people to come forward to fund the charity to aid the blinder residents of the Isle of Wight. This newsletter includes a little of our history and lots of photos from past years in celebration of this, and an article on how we are fundraising to celebrate this. As I work with trustees to help recruit my replacement, I have taken time to look back to when I joined in 2018, and I'm compiling a report for the next newsletter of then and now, which I hope will make interesting reading. I would like to sincerely thank Bridget and David Preston, who nominated us as their Cowes Masonic Lodge Charity of the Year, and I cannot still quite believe they raised £10,000 for us throughout this year, including Bridget running yoga classes, which raised over 1,100 of this. Such a huge thank you from everyone here at Sight for Wight. Your donation really will help us to change people's lives. And indeed, thank you to every single supporter and volunteer who make us possible. Please save the date of the 30th of July as our open day here at Millbrook House to celebrate every person involved in Sight for Wight.
Pages 4 and 5. Collage of photographs celebrating 160 years of the charity.
This is Lisa reading Sight for Wight celebrates 160 years. Sight for Wight, the Isle of Wight Society for the Blind, is the oldest working island charity and celebrates its 160th birthday this year. Recent further delvings into archives have revealed that in fact the charity was founded on the 5th of April, my birthday too. Sight for Wight is looking for 365 people who could each donate £160 to support the charity for a day. This would raise a staggering £58,400, which would fulfil 78% of our annual fundraising needs of the charity. We have been the very grateful beneficiaries of donations for people in lieu of birthday presents, and this gave me the idea of making this more official, recognising that individual on their chosen day as the person who supported our charity for that day. Dates will be allocated on a first-come, first-served basis, and we will only have one person for each day. But it is not just birthdays. I want to extend this to include companies celebrating the day they were formed, anniversaries, last day of school, first kiss, first date, receiving an award, accomplishing any personal goal, or just because. Sue Bungay Charity Trustees praised the idea. I truly believe that we can find 365 people to support our work. This fundraising idea really would allow us to meet the vast majority of our annual target, leaving staff and volunteers free to help our members even further by reducing time spent on fundraising. The remainder of our target will be through awareness-raising events, which are equally so important. This is Lisa reading Celebrating 160 Years, Our History. 1865 to 1895. During the mid-Victorian period in Great Britain, interest and concern began regarding the plight of blind people and their families living in the community. The concern brought about the formation of societies whose specific aims were to support needy blind people in the community. On the 5th of April 1865, John Cooper wrote to the editor of the Isle of Wight Observer asking vicars of all denominations and interested ladies and gentlemen to come together and form a committee to represent the needs of the blind and raise money. The Isle of Wight Society for the Blind was born. The year 1920 saw the introduction of the Blind Persons Act, which laid certain responsibilities on local authorities to provide some services for blind people. It was permissible for local authorities to delegate some or all of these responsibilities to a voluntary agency, and in 1921 this society became affiliated to the council, and this remained true until 2007. Home at Polars for blind Isle of Wight residents. In 1946, GP Dr. Finlay proposed opening a home for the blind, and by 1951 the society had plans in place to build a 20-person bedroom at Polars, adjoining a council care home. A total of £22,750 had to be raised for the blind. The county press bore a front-page fundraiser asking people to purchase a brick for £1. It is believed this was the first home built after the National Assistance Act was passed in 1948, and the only one built in conjunction with an old people's home, allowing blind people to mix with sighted people and become friends. As I am now at the helm of the Isle of Wight's oldest working charity, I stand in awe of my predecessors and what they have achieved. The early records show from 1928 to 1958, Mr. S.B. Dorr was the only employee and was famed for his unfailing compassion for the blind. When health took control, he was followed by his daughter, Mrs. Noreen Taylor, who introduced the home teacher and fought hard with the Isle of Wight Council to introduce eventually 2 full-time paid rehabilitation officers. Ian Attrell followed Noreen Taylor, who was a huge instigator in the charity moving forward, with the significant increase in number of members, both blind and partially sighted. In 1999, Olive took over, gaining the Investors in People Award. This was followed in 2014 under Estelle Thomas with the Queen's Award for Voluntary Service. Since 2020, I am at the helm with our amazing team of volunteers, staff, trustees and members. I'm very sad to be retiring from the role this year, but will remain in post until a suitable replacement is found.
Short break to Warners. 21 members, staff and friends of the charity have just spent a wonderful time at Norton Grange, Warners in Yarmouth. During our stay, members enjoyed several activities including archery, axe throwing, rifle shooting and laser shooting. The group also took part in daily activities including a quiz, although we did not win the daily prize. The group enjoyed many laughs together, and it showed the dance floor a few moves every night. It was a unanimous vote to book again next spring to enjoy the opportunities on offer that are not normally accessible to our members. Details to follow in due course. Susan, Members and Volunteers Manager. Member activities. Weekly. By appointment, we have Sam on hand to give one-to-one help with accessibility features on your computer, laptop, tablet or phone. It is essential you pre-book, so please call ahead.
Monday. Swimming at Medina Leisure Centre, Newport, term time only, between 1:15 and 2 p.m.
Tuesday. Yoga at Millbrook House between 1:45 p.m. and 2:45 p.m. Come along and try gentle exercise. Just £4, which includes refreshments. Call the office to book a space.
Wednesday. Coffee and chat at Millbrook House between 10 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. All are welcome to join us for coffee and cake. The cost is £2 and the group is open to everyone. We have regular visitors to this group, for example, the ECLO, the Macular Society and many others. We now have the use of both rooms for members wishing for a quiet space.
Thursday, mix and mingle at Millbrook House between 10:30am and 2pm. Planned activities including crafts, quizzes and entertainment. The cost is £4 plus £3.50 for transport if required. The group has a waiting list, so please call to put your name down.
Fortnightly tennis is held at Ryde Mead Tennis Club on a Monday between 9:30am and 10:30am. Volunteers of the club are on hand to assist. This is weather dependent.
Monthly groups. The first Tuesday of the month. Godzill Coffee Morning, 10:30am to 12pm, held at the Old Smithy Coffee Shop, Godzill. Volunteers Yvonne and Linda will be on hand to chat every month.
First Thursday of the month, audio book group held at Lord Louis Library, Newport between 2pm and 3pm. This group is free to attend. You will receive a digital copy, USB stick or CD and the group will discuss the book at the following meeting.
Second Friday of the month, Walk and Talk group, as an alternative to Striders. Involves a walk of around 2 miles. The cost is £2 plus £3.50 transport. For more details, please call Susan. As with all walks, we offer one-to-one help.
Last Friday of the month, Striders is for members who enjoy walking. The walk is normally between 4 and 6 miles depending on the route and location. The cost is £4 plus £3.50 for transport. The group always enjoys lunch in a local pub and is a great social event.
Last Sunday of the month, golf at Westridge Golf Centre, Ryde. Members enjoy 45 minutes with a professional instructor, available to help the complete novice, to those playing regularly. It is usually the last Sunday of the month, but always call the office to confirm. The sessions are run by Mark. Mark said, everyone enjoys this outside activity and find the golf club and professional help to be really engaging. It's a very light-hearted atmosphere with friendly chat and banter. Clubs are provided and no special clothing is required.
Tandem bikes are now ready to go, hopefully with the better weather coming. Our pilots are all ready and willing to take members for rides. Therefore, if you would like to have a go and you haven't let the office know, please call and put your name on the list. This is a fantastic opportunity for anyone who enjoys riding a bike and fresh air.
Fortnightly Bell Tennis is held at Ryde Mead Tennis Club on alternative Mondays between 9:30am and 10:30am. Volunteers of the club are on hand to assist. This is weather dependent. Volunteers of the club will meet you at the nearest bus stop if required. The group is always looking for new members, so for more details, please call the office and speak to Susan.
Ion Social Group. Ion Social is our afternoon group held on the second Wednesday of the month. This group is open to everyone, members, volunteers and friends, and is a thoroughly enjoyable afternoon, always finishing with tea and cake. The following talks and tours are booked. The cost is £3, which includes refreshments. May the 14th, Isle of Wight Bus Museum. June 11th, Northcourt Manor Gardens Tour. July 15th, Bembridge Fort Tour. Please call Susan to reserve your place on 52205. Tribute to Lisa. One of Lisa's many strengths is her ability to come up with new and innovative ideas, including the Hello Everyone QR codes. This gave me the opportunity to create QR codes for the following organisations: Whitelink, Gift to Nature, Hover Travel, Isle of Wight Council, Hampshire Police, Shanklin Theatre, Sandown Town Council, Key Art Centre, Independent Arts. These now enable visually impaired people to navigate an area that would normally be unfamiliar to them. I appreciated Lisa giving me the opportunity to utilise my video skills. Happy retirement. Chris Kane, Centre Manager.
Tribute to Lisa. From day one of starting the education programme, Lisa has always believed it will be successful, which I am thankful to her for. I'm sure the programme will continue to be effective and be a big learning opportunity for all the children, teachers and teaching assistants as it continues into the future. Jasmine, Education Manager.
I'd like to thank Lisa for all her support and feedback she has given me throughout my job role and doing my course so far. I like that her door has always been open and she has always taken on board anything I've had to say, even if it's when I'm away travelling. As she moves into early retirement, I'd like to wish her a happy time and hopefully to learn to relax a little.
Tribute to Lisa. I have been with Sight for Wight and Wight Sense for 3 years now. During this time, Lisa has always been the CEO. I always admire her commitment and support to those on the Isle of Wight with sight and hearing loss. I thank her for her support as my line manager and wish her well in her retirement. Karen Chessel, Deafblind Support Officer.
When Sight for Wight was awarded the sensory service contract 3 years ago, it meant a lot of change for me. Lisa was very welcoming, supportive and empathetic through the transition process, which made it so much easier and much less stressful. Her dedication and professionalism is an inspiration, and she will often go the extra mile if it benefits the charity, more so if it's associated with an opportunity to gain funding, networking with other professionals, or promoting Sight for Wight and its achievements. I wish Lisa all the best for her forthcoming retirement. She will be missed, and I hope she takes the time to have some well-deserved rest and relaxation and looks forward to new adventures in the future. From Paula Matthews, Technical Officer, Hearing Impairment.
I had been chairman of a road safety charity for many years when I joined Lisa and her team last year as a trustee. I was delighted to find our charity was extremely well run and morale above the staff was very high. It still is today. This is a great tribute to our CEO, Lisa, who has been an outstanding leader of the team and a great ambassador for the sight impaired and hard of hearing on the Isle of Wight for the past 5 years. We shall be sorry to see Lisa step down, but happy that she will stay in touch with us. Best wishes from me, Tony.
I think the best way I can sum up Lisa is to say that she's tireless and constantly goes above and beyond that which is asked of her. Lisa took the helm at a challenging time for the charity and has steered us admirably through stormy waters. We are so grateful for the time, knowledge and determination she has shown throughout her tenure, all whilst keeping her sense of humour. From my perspective as a trustee, she has always made herself available for any query and has been a great advocate for rehabilitation services and the ECLO role. Lisa, we will really miss you, and the place will honestly not be the same without you. Good luck in all your future adventures. And that's from Laura Gouljar, ECLO and trustee.
I would like to thank Lisa for giving me the opportunity to join the team here at Sight for Wight. Being visually impaired myself, I have struggled for many years in a wide range of jobs that never quite understood the challenges I faced. This all changed when I was offered the job as Accessibility Officer and also becoming part of the Talking News production. I would like to thank Lisa for all the opportunities she has given me, along with all the new skills I have acquired. She has given me the confidence to push myself and made me realise that nothing can hold me back. I would like to wish her all the best in her retirement. She will be greatly missed by all. Sam, Accessibility Officer.
I have worked with Lisa from the beginning when she joined as the finance officer. She has always been very driven and passionate about the charity and the work it carries out supporting island people. The work she puts in behind the scenes with grant funding and sourcing new opportunities have been instrumental in the charity's survival, and I think everyone should be very grateful for that and for the charity going from strength to strength under her guidance. I wish her a long and happy retirement, although knowing Lisa, she will never sit still with her feet up. Spend time with the boys and enjoy life. Susan Early, Members and Volunteers Manager.
Having started work here 4 years ago as a member support officer, Lisa has always been encouraging, patient and a mind of information. Through her dedication to the charity and to championing those who are living with a sight loss, I have learnt so much and been able to become an assessor for the sensory service at Wight Sense. Lisa never gives up, and her motto must be, where there's a will, there's a way. It has been an absolute pleasure working with Lisa, and although she will be greatly missed, I wish her a very happy and healthy retirement. Karen Fazzani, Visual Impairment Support Officer.
Spotlight on Robert. I opened my eyes on the world in the middle of the Second World War. I lived my early life in Pemberton Gardens, North London, which was the setting for the hilarious book Diary of a Nobody by George and Weedon Grothsmith. I can remember a VE street party as a young person and getting up on stage to sing You Are My Sunshine, holding hands with Vera, the girl next door. I went to Chartersea Grammar School, North London, experimental, no Latin, more arts vocational, and in 1960 I enrolled in an art college for 4 years on a degree course. Pauline Boty, who taught at the college, was an originator of pop art along with Sir Peter Blake, an influence on my own artistic endeavours. In 1976 I studied for an art teacher's certificate at London University. For a while I lived with ex-students from college to exchange ideas and work out philosophy. I became a teacher myself in further education, .5 lecturer, teaching art and life class. A few memorable moments of my life involved a train ride from Kingston, Jamaica, over the Blue Mountains to Montego Bay, an earthquake, looking up at the calm from the eye of Hurricane Gilbert when I was in Jamaica in 1988, finding a biography written by my great-uncle Benjamin William Findon on his cousin Sir Arthur Sullivan, visiting the grounds of the hospital in Kumasi, Ghana, and tugging at the sword unsuccessfully implanted there by the Ghanaian Merlin, apparently a great leader who will, in future, succeed. I also helped to mount an exhibition of Raymond Briggs' original snowman illustrations at the Battersea Art Gallery, where my friend Joan was curator. It was Joan who persuaded me to buy a space at the Royal Victoria Patriotic Building and, after a makeover, sold it, which helped finance my move to the Isle of Wight in 1999. About 4.5 years ago, my eyesight started to deteriorate, so I went to an optician who recommended I go to the hospital eye department, which revealed I had AMD, age-related macular degeneration. I also mentioned to the staff about hallucinations I was having, and they suggested I make an appointment to see Laura Gouljar, Eye Clinic Liaison Officer at St Mary's, who diagnosed Charles Bonnet syndrome. She also presented me with a Sight for Wight newsletter and thought I would benefit from contacting the charity. This I did and decided to go along to their Wednesday coffee morning, which I'm so glad I did. My thanks to all the helpful staff and volunteers who helped make my life that bit easier. Long may it continue. Robert, Member.
Second-hand equipment sale. On Wednesday the 21st of May at Millbrook House, we are holding a sale of pre-loved items from our resources room. These items are mainly designed to support those with a visual impairment. We currently have desktop magnifiers, both with and without speech. These are around £2,000 upwards if you were to purchase new. However, we have pre-loved models available for a suggested donation of £400. We also have talking microwaves, various task lamps, selection of handheld magnifiers, computer keyboards, kitchen equipment, big button phones, and various other items. Sam will also have mobile phones to demonstrate with various VI-friendly apps installed for you to try before you buy.
Member Support Officer. It's that time of year with the weather getting warmer that some of us think about getting away and taking a short break or a longer vacation. Having just got back from Warner's with Sight for Wight, you realise how a change of scenery, a switch to your routine and different social interactions can truly benefit our well-being. However, being visually impaired and not being in familiar surroundings can also be extremely daunting and can even stop us from trying anything new. However, if you want an adventure or to meet new people, maybe explore different cultures and soak up new atmospheres, a holiday especially designed for VI travellers may just be the answer. Travel Eyes and Seeable are just two organisations that offer holidays tailored for VI travellers. From the Lake District to tandem bikes in the Loire Valley, stately homes in the Peak District to the sacred lands of the Inca in Peru. Holidays are suitable for solo travellers, couples, family holidays or groups of friends. Assistance is offered right from the beginning and you can have a sighted guide with you and local tour guides that are VI trained so you get the very best out of your experience. For more information, either contact me or contact Travel Eyes on 0113 834 6094, website www.traveleyes-international.com, or Seeable on 020 3375 6947, or their website www.seeable.co.uk. Karen, Member Support.
Meet volunteers Tracy and Matt. Hello everyone. My name is Tracy and I am currently a volunteer for Sight for Wight. I have been asked if I would tell you a little bit about myself. Initially I thought, why would anyone want to know about my life? I am pretty boring. However, I gave it some thought and here goes. I was born in 1966 and lived in a village on the outskirts of High Wycombe called Tyler's Green. As well as mum and dad, I had an older sister and brother. We had a menagerie of animals, including 3 dogs, a cat, goldfish and budgie. The fun fair would come every September and mum would groan when we came home with yet another goldfish. She always got lumbered with cleaning them out every week. Every summer we would drive down to Swanage, where we would meet up with aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents and their dogs for a 2-week caravan holiday. I have very fond memories of those times. We hired 2 beach huts and would spend the whole days on the beach and in the water. It hardly ever seemed to rain, but if it did, we would be taken to the Tank Museum. The boys loved it, but it was a feat of endurance for me. I was more into the Punch and Judy show, trudging up the beach every day at 2 o'clock to watch yet another performance. My world changed in 1982 when I was 15 years old, as my lovely dad died very suddenly of a heart attack at the age of 47. My poor mum was widowed at 44 and left with 3 kids to look after and a house that still had a mortgage to pay. Mum was fantastic. She remortgaged the house and although money was very tight, life went on. I left school in 1984 and worked for 5 years in a shoe shop. I then worked for the NHS for a total of 32 years. I carried out a variety of admin roles, both in the local hospital and then a few GP surgeries. In 1984, I met Matt in a local nightclub, and in 1987 we got married. Like me, Matt was born in High Wycombe and had never left. He has 3 brothers, 1 older and 2 younger. Matt served an apprenticeship as an engineer and worked in engineering for 22 years, 16 of which were permanent night shift. We rarely had a crossword because we hardly saw each other. As I went to work in the morning, he came home and went to bed. He then went to work for Thames Water for 22 years until his retirement last year. Unfortunately, life was a little unkind and we were never able to have children. Instead, in 1999, we began adopting French bulldogs. Our first little girl was called Anna. They weren't popular dogs back then, not like today, and people used to ask if she was a pig. We have adopted a few Frenchies over the years and currently have Tilly and Nellie. We also have Winnie, our miniature dachshund, who belonged to my mum. He is our little old man at 14 years old. Let's fast forward to the present and how Matt and I came to living on the island. Matt always wanted to retire when he was 60, and in March 2024 he did just that. I was 57 at the time and ready to retire also. I have a chronic health condition which leaves me in a lot of pain and extremely tired, so it was time to call it a day with work. In 2023, both Matt's parents passed away, so we decided it was now our time. We had holidayed on the island several times and fell in love with it, so in 2023 we put our house in High Wycombe on the market and put a deposit on a new build in Godshill. After a lot of angst and stress, we moved over here April last year. Neither of us had lived anywhere other than High Wycombe, so it was a big deal for us. I knew I wanted to do some volunteer work, but I was also aware of my limitations. Late last year, I saw that Sight for Wight were looking for volunteers, so I applied to become an escort. No, not that sort of escort, on their minibus. I currently do alternate Thursdays, taking the lovely members home after mix and mingle, and once or twice a month, I escort some members to and from their swimming session on a Monday. I love volunteering so much that I talked Matt into helping too. He now drives the minibus and does some odd jobs at Millbrook House. Just this morning he has repaired the shed roof at Millbrook. Like me, he also gets great pleasure from helping where he can. We both find it very rewarding, and although we don't volunteer to get thanks, the members are really very grateful to us. Not only are we helping Sight for Wight, they are helping us. Retiring after working all our lives is hard. We both felt like we were just floundering, and volunteering gives us a purpose and fulfilment. Well, after thinking I had nothing to tell you, I seem to have rambled on quite a bit. You are pretty much up to date with our lives up to now, so I will sign off. Tracy and Matt, volunteers. Volunteer update. Welcome to all our new volunteers. I hope you enjoy your time with Sight for Wight and feel welcomed by staff and fellow volunteers of the charity. Our member activities are running very well, with new members coming aboard and enjoying what we have to offer. I am glad to report that Walk and Talk is once again running for the summer months, and I would like to thank Trish and Jackie for offering their help along with other volunteers to plan this monthly activity. Alongside member activities, we have held several fundraising events, and once again I thank those volunteers who come along and offer to help, raising both the profile and much needed funds for the charity. Thank you also to all the volunteers who came to our first catch-up for 2025. It was well attended and I hope everyone enjoyed coffee and cake. It was a great morning, full of conversation and laughter, and I hope those who came along tell others about our charity and bring them along to the next one so that we can showcase the marvellous work we all do. Every activity we run and every fundraising event we hold, I could not do without the backup and support of the many volunteers our charity is very fortunate to have, and I thank you all for your time, help and support you provide me and the charity. I cannot thank you enough. Susan, Volunteers and Members Manager.
A poem by Sheila. Mix and mingle. Mix and mingle means to me such a lot of hilarity. A meeting of friends and repartee, lovely ladies to bring us tea. No milk, no sugar, we're so fussy. Then we have our activity. Quizzes, sticking, oh no, not glue. My eyes and my nose too. Morris is my favourite, and John sings and fills the room. We also dance to rid any gloom. The three maids are such fun, we laugh and sing, they are not humdrum. Susan looks after us with love and care, we all appreciate her being there. In the car and bus at 2 o'clock, they shut the door for sure. I think they say, whoopee, no more, no more.
IT tips for members. On your Android mobile phone, you can enlarge the text and icon size. Simply go to Settings, Accessibility, Font Size and Text. Here you can choose how big text appears when using your phone. Google Assistant can be installed on your phone and it's free to use. Google Assistant can do lots of things for you by simply saying, "Hey Google." Google Assistant can make calls for you, send messages, set reminders, and even tell you the weather forecast for the day. Seeing AI. Seeing AI is a free app from Microsoft. Once installed, the app can read text from food packaging or even the latest gas bill. Simply hold the phone over the text and it will read it aloud. It also has a mode called Describe. This mode will describe everything you point the camera at in great detail. If you have a PC or laptop, you can increase the size of the desktop icons very easily. On the desktop, hold down the Control key on your keyboard and then use the scroll wheel on your mouse to increase or decrease the size of your desktop icons. On Android and iPhones, there is a very clever feature that detects certain sounds and alerts you when they happen. Once set up, your phone can alert you to sounds such as doorbells, smoke alarms, dogs barking, babies crying and more. This can be found in the accessibility menu of the phone under the heading Hearing Enhancements. A totally blind gamer. It is not every day that something modern, yet something so amazingly retro, seemed destined to come across over and bring its own flair to the table, and yet that day is today. It starts with a crowd-funded Kickstarter campaign with one man, Lee McGeorge. Inspired by the radio drama of the past, plus Nintendo Game Boy, successfully funding this vision within the hour of the campaign going live, there was no question I would definitely back a project like this. Now a year later, that initial vision is on my desk as I write this very review. This consists of a device from Truman Toys and Games, not much larger than the Nintendo Game Boy, but with 4 buttons on it, A, B, C and D, from the left to right on the top. Moving to the right hand side there is a power switch, very flicky, clicky sounding, and above that is a slot, which is designed to hold a cartridge. On the left there is a USB-C port and headphones plug. There are lights built in to the unit as well. The first big prize reveal was that these cartridges actually have braille on them. They can go one way in and one way out. However, I am getting ahead of myself, because what these cartridges contain are games or adventures. I got 3 with mine: The Psychotronic Mind, a daring-do type thriller set in World War II, Hotel of Secrets, a noir drama in the 1930s, and Bewilder, a fairy tale inspired adventure. Bewilder is the one I have currently played through at the time of writing. But here's the second kicker. This device has no screen, meaning that it lives up to its namesake of an audio adventure system. This essentially consists of listening to the story. Then you are asked to make a choice. Do you press A to follow the scorpion, or press D to pick it up? This system brings in all 4 buttons later when you not only have puzzles to solve, but some action-like sequences to react to, and some maze-like sequences too. Each game has 4 episodes, with each episode taking 20 to 30 minutes to complete, plus replayable challenges and paths. There are a few caveats. You can tell it's a first attempt. Some voice acting sounds a little rushed, and even getting the cartridge back out of the device is a bit tricky. The cartridge boxes themselves do not have braille due to the expense. Despite all that, the best reveal and praise I can give the project is that all of this was developed by one man who programmed the electronics, developed the cartridge format in its own programming language, and found a manufacturing partner, and against the odds succeeded with the initial wave, with more to come. Audio Adventure is available from trumantoys.com. The price point is £65 for the device and 1 game, or you can buy all 3 for £109 or mix and match. The individual games cost £22. Lastly, there are 3 more games coming this year: Ice Cold, Bank Robbing Bunnies, and Where is the Ghost? The next one is scheduled to be Ice Cold, and here is a tease. A bankrupt mining operation on a distant planet has been taken over by new owners. They sent a security team to ensure safety of the miners, but on arrival, the team come under attack from a unique kind of alien, a being that holds together ice and rock to create its shape and attacks without mercy. It's going to be a while before you can leave, so prepare yourself for a fight to survive on a frozen alien world.
Update from Technical Officer for Hearing Impairment, read by Paula. I came across a really fascinating article from the University of Sheffield regarding research into hearing loss and how it can be treated. The article is titled "On the Verge of Reversing Deafness." The article describes a revolutionary approach to, in essence, curing or reversing deafness in people with a sensory neural hearing loss. Sensory neural is the most common type of hearing loss. It can be caused most commonly by age or wear and tear, but can also be caused by exposure to loud music, certain medications, or an underlying medical condition. Researchers based at Rinri Therapeutics are using the science from the University of Sheffield to experiment with using regenerative allogeneic stem cell therapy, meaning using donated cells from a healthy donor rather than the person's own cells to treat sensory neural hearing loss. This could make a huge difference because at present the only treatment for sensory neural hearing loss is hearing aids or cochlear implant. Although this approach is effective for a considerable number of people, it can never restore their natural hearing, and this new treatment theoretically may be able to do just that. The treatment has been called Rincell-1, and they're hoping to begin human trials at some point in 2025. If the trials are successful, it could potentially benefit an awful lot of people with sensory neural hearing loss. Reference University of Sheffield, On the Verge of Reversing Deafness, available at www.sheffield.ac.uk/research/verge-reversing-deafness. From Paula, Technical Officer for Hearing Impairment.
Deafblind Support Officer. As part of my role as Deafblind Support Officer, there are a few meetings that I attend, one of which is the Local Authority Workers Deafblind Interest Group, otherwise known as LAWDIG. This group meets quarterly and prior to COVID was held face-to-face at Sense headquarters in London. With obvious restrictions of COVID, this meeting, like most others, went online. Lordig has now got far more attendees from all over the country and has never gone back to face-to-face meetings. At meetings, we usually have a speaker and also a section about equipment and problem solving as well as best practice. At the last meeting in April 2025, Judith Potts was a speaker. Judith was the founding member of Esme's Umbrella, a charity named after her mother, giving support for people with Charles Bonnet syndrome or visual hallucinations after sight loss. Esme's Umbrella is dedicated to raising awareness of Charles Bonnet syndrome and giving support to those with the condition. Judith told a story of her mother Esme, who one day, as Judith was leaving the house, said she wished that the people on the sofa would go. There was, however, nobody on the sofa. She also said that a young Edwardian girl was with her all day. If this is also happening to you, it is possible that it could be Charles Bonnet syndrome. On the NHS website, it advises that you dial 111 to rule out more serious conditions. Further help can be found at www.charlesbonnetsyndrome.uk. The helpline 0303 123 9999, answered for Esme's Umbrella by the RNIB. Callers can be referred to Esme's Umbrella. Karen, deafblind assessor.
Apprentice VRS diabetic retinopathy. This is caused by having too much sugar in the blood vessels over a continuous period of time. The back of the eye can be affected. This can cause disruption to the vision and vision loss. This can happen in 3 main stages. They are Stage 1, background retinopathy. This is when tiny lumps are formed in the blood vessels which might bleed a small amount but do not usually affect the vision. Treatment is not needed at this stage, but preventative measures could be put in place, such as diet changes, cutting down salt, fat and sugar, losing weight, regular exercise like cycling, swimming or walking. Walking 10,000 steps a day is recommended. Stopping smoking, controlled alcohol levels to recommended amounts, no more than 14 units a week. Stage 2, pre-proliferative retinopathy. This is when more changes are noticed and some vision loss may occur caused by more significant bleeds into the eye. You will be more at risk of your vision being affected. You'll usually be advised to have more frequent screening appointments every 3, 6, 9 or 12 months to monitor your eyes. Stage 3, proliferative retinopathy. This is when scar tissue has developed onto the retina. This causes a higher risk to vision loss. This can cause retinal detachment. Treatment offered can include laser, injections, eye operation to remove the scar tissue. Information based on NHS website Diabetic Retinopathy NHS www.nhs.uk. What can Wight Sense do to help? If you have a diagnosed eye condition or diagnosed hearing loss, Wight Sense could offer a free assessment in your own home where you may be entitled to equipment to help you with your day-to-day living. We can also offer free kitchen skills, mobility and cane training if desired. Please call 01983 240 222 or email info@whitesense.co.uk.
Access rights for guide dogs. Your access rights with your guide dog. This document provides you with information on your access rights as a person with sight loss with a guide dog. It also provides details on the support you can expect from guide dogs should you experience an access refusal or have been treated less favourably because you have a guide dog. People and businesses are generally very happy to assist guide dog owners, and you should be able to use most services and be welcomed into most establishments with your guide dog. However, if you believe that you've been treated unfairly because of your sight loss or because you have a guide dog, you may want to challenge the service provider using equality legislation. Whether you go on to challenge service providers or not, please let guide dogs know of any access refusal or incidents where you've been treated less favourably. This information will help to support our campaign's work and better understand the prevalence of disability discrimination affecting people with sight loss and guide dogs. The law, as a person who is blind or visually impairment, you have important access rights which are protected by the Equality Act 2010 in England, Scotland and Wales, and the Disability Discrimination Act 1995 in Northern Ireland. Service providers have a legal duty to explore and make reasonable adjustments to ensure people with disabilities are not put at a substantial disadvantage compared to people who are not disabled. In practical terms, this means that you should have the same level of access as everyone else. However, please be aware that there are some exceptions.
Note, it is important to remember that it is you who has access to rights as a person with disabilities, not your guide dog. Your guide dog can legally accompany you to most places when it's working, as your dog is supporting your safe and confident mobility. Examples of potential discrimination. You're refused access to a restaurant, shop or hotel because you have your guide dog with you. You're told that you cannot sit in the restaurant area of a pub to have a meal. You are instructed to sit in the bar area because you have a guide dog. A hotel or other accommodation provider or taxi charges you extra for having a guide dog. Examples of exceptions to equality law. While you may still need your guide dog to accompany you to a medical facility, there may be areas within the facility in which a guide dog may not be permitted due to infection control or health and safety issues. An example of this is a dentist clinical treatment room. A responsible adjustment here could be that your guide dog is accommodated in another office or behind reception while a staff member sighted guides you to the treatment room.
Access rights for guide dogs continued. Read by Paula. Before visiting a zoo, animal or wildlife park, we recommend that you contact them to let them know that you will be accompanied by a guide dog and to discuss your access needs. For example, to request a sighted guide, protection of all animals is crucial, so it may be necessary to leave your dog with a member of staff, if this can be facilitated, or alternatively, you may need to make arrangements to take a sighted guide with you. Access information and empowerment officers at guide dogs. Access information and empowerment officers, AIEOs, are at guide dogs to support you to independently challenge and resolve access refusals and other discrimination issues related to being visually impaired and having a guide dog. The team offers information and support and can provide a range of information, leaflets and documents so you can feel confident when challenging or educating service providers. They also offer advice on issues relating to barriers in the external environment, such as pavement parking, wheelie bins and crossings, all of which may impact your ability to get out and about safely and with confidence. Resources available to assist and empower you include a memory aid, Clear, to assist you in responding to access refusals and other potential incidents of discrimination. An access card, a wallet-friendly card with relevant information relating to your access rights which you can keep with you when out and about.
Educational and good practice leaflets for service providers, which explain their legal obligations, including but not limited to retail outlets, taxis, restaurants, hotels, leisure facilities, medical facilities, and more. Key takeaway messages. Remember, as a person with sight loss, you have important access rights. Service providers must make responsible adjustments, including amending any no-dog policy to allow access for you with your guide dog. Where exemptions apply, other reasonable adjustments should be made to enable you to access the service. Taxis. It's against the law for an operator or driver of a taxi or private hire vehicle, PHV, to refuse to carry you and your guide dog unless they have a valid medical exemption certificate they have been issued by the licensing authority they are registered with. You should not be charged extra if you have a guide dog with you. If you refuse a taxi or a PHV because you have a guide dog, you should report it to the licensing authority where the refusal took place. Retail and hospitality. Some shops, restaurants, pubs, hotels, holiday cottages and B&Bs incorrectly believe that because they have a no dogs policy, they can refuse guide dogs and other assistant dogs. They also may believe they can charge you extra for having a guide dog, which could be breach of the law. To get advice, discuss or report any access referral or potential discrimination, call 0800 7811 444. That's 0800 781 1444. Or email information@guidedogs.org.uk. That's information@guidedogs.org.uk.
AI intelligence with waiting lists. Thanks to the help of Dora, an artificial intelligent telephone assistant, average waiting times for low complexity cataract surgery for patients in Hampshire and the Isle of Wight has reduced from 35 weeks at the beginning of January 2024 to 10 weeks or less. Dora calls patients waiting for cataract surgery, speaks to them in a natural voice, and gathers medical history. Dora is also capable of offering patients a choice of treatment locations based on waiting times and distance from their home. Eris Konstantopoulos, consultant ophthalmologist at the University Hospital, Southampton, and ophthalmology clinic lead for NHS Hampshire and the Isle of Wight, said, "All hospitals in Hampshire and the Isle of Wight have made massive strides in reducing the waits of cataract surgery in the area. Dora has enabled this by allowing us to develop a single point of access for referrals, reducing the burden of administrative processes and providing clear options to patients. Using Dora has also allowed us to free up time for our nursing teams to concentrate on more surgical work while Dora makes the phone calls and completes the administration duty. We have had some great feedback from patients who have said that Dora is very clear and easy to understand. She also engages and interacts with patients and can understand what they are saying and asking. Dora has made more than 1,200 calls to patients since January 2024, which has freed up many hours of nursing time who previously made the calls. Feedback from patients who were contacted by Dora included: it was very clear and efficient and prompt, and it worked very well. Very simple and straight to the point. I had no problem understanding Dora, and I answered my questions. Hampshire and the Isle of Wight has a high volume of cataract surgeries, with around 15,000 patients undergoing surgery each year. A Dora patient experience survey from July to December 2024 showed that 92% of patients were extremely satisfied with the experience. Ophthalmology is one of the busiest specialists in the NHS, carrying out more than 500,000 operations every year, 6% of the NHS total, and more than 7.5 million outpatient appointments. Further information about Dora and how it is used across Hampshire and the Isle of Wight can be found at www.hantsileofwight.icb.nhs.uk/cataracts.
Our much anticipated fashion event took place in Cowes on the 29th of March, and I'm delighted to say that it was a huge success. The event itself was a sellout, as evidenced by the queues at the doors for the 2 p.m. opening, and the rooms were packed with ladies seeking and finding bargain clothes, shoes and accessories. Our Dress for Less volunteers went above and beyond in the weeks leading up to the event, as well as moving the entire contents of the shop and back again in 48 hours. The entire event was very much dependent upon their voluntary contribution, and it would not have succeeded without them. Thank you very much, ladies. Kenny from Page the Packers was truly outstanding in safely delivering and returning our stock, and nothing was too much trouble for him. Our models were amazing and showed the outfits so well that customers were chasing them back into the changing room to claim them. A huge thank you to all of you for giving up your time to help us. In addition to the magnificent bargains, we held a raffle for a Radley bag and Prosecco. We also provided free gifts to those who spent over £50, all of which were claimed. I would personally like to thank Bridget and her husband for their help in providing the venue and facilities with which the event would not have been possible. Thank you to all the ladies who attended and for all your kind comments. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Last but certainly not least, I would like to take this opportunity to say a sincere and heartfelt thank you to our amazing CEO, Lisa. I have thoroughly enjoyed working with you. We've achieved so much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to develop the shop, realise my vision and promote Sight for Wight. I will treasure the memories of our collaboration and wish you every happiness in your much deserved retirement. I will, however, miss you hugely.
Education update. Since the last education update, we have been very busy visiting multiple schools. We have been to St Mary's Primary, St Thomas Primary, Shalfleet Primary, Lanes End Primary and Gatton and Lake Primary. In May, I will be visiting Greenmount Primary, June, Newport C of E Primary, July, Brading Primary and finally Wootton Primary. Some of the schools this year are new to learning about our education programme, but mostly we get invited back to schools as they really enjoy the previous visits. I am very grateful to all the schools that invite us to attend. We are very well looked after and the children really engage with learning. None of these school visits would be possible without the help of the volunteers who assist me. I am so grateful to every one of them who give me their time and support to attend these schools. I am always looking for volunteers to come along to the schools with me and help providing the sight loss related games that go with the programme. I am thankful for any time anyone can give, even if it's an hour and a half every couple of months. Your time and support will be very much appreciated by me, so if you're interested in helping, please feel free to call the office to have a chat with me. Jasmine, Education.
Chris's Crackers.
I've decided to sell my Hoover. Well, it was just collecting dust.
I once played football on a plane. There I was, running up the wing.
So I went into a video shop And the man asked if I'd like to rent Batman Forever. I said no, just for 2 hours.
So I took my dog for a walk and it was really angry. Well, it would be. It's a crossbreed.
So I said to this bloke, I've just been to Australia. He asked me who I travelled with and I said, I don't remember the names of all the passengers.
When I was a kid, my dad worked 12 hours a day to put food on the table. Great dad. Slow cook.
So I said to my gym instructor, can you teach me to do the splits? He said, how flexible are you? I said, well, I can't do Tuesdays.
Conjunctivitis.com. That's a sight for sore eyes.
This bloke said to me, I'm going to attack you with the neck of a guitar. I said, is that a threat?
Our 100 Club. Did you know we have our own 100 Club? This is our own lottery, but restricted to 100 members. Each month, entrants pay £2 for a number with a 40% prize money distributed as a single prize and the remaining 60% going directly to support our services. This quarter's winners are Gillian, Chris and Denise. We'd also like to welcome our new members, Mary, Gwyneth and Lee. If you would like to join the Sight for Wight 100 Club, it is just £2 a month. You can pay annually or by standing order each month. As a charity, Sight for Wight relies entirely on donations from our supporters and the time and expertise our volunteers kindly donate to us. We are always looking at new ways to raise both awareness and funds. If you would like to help, please never hesitate to contact Lisa or Susan at the office on 522205 with your ideas.
Contact details. Sight for Wight. Telephone 01983 52205. Email inquiries at iwsb.org.uk. Website sightforwight.org.uk. Wight Sense. Telephone 01983 240 222. Email info@whitesense.org.uk. Web whitesense.org.uk. Opening hours Monday to Friday 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Dress for less. Telephone 01983 523 197. Email retail@iwsb.org.uk. Address 57 Pyle Street, Newport, Isle of Wight, PO30 1UL. Newsletter available in the following formats: Alexa, USB, Braille.